barking out the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California has won the big game.
5 seconds left in the game. You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vance, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
Hey, let's do it indeed. How are you? Good morning. Welcome. The first, finally, Friday edition here of the new show on YouTube. Wow, we've made it to the end of the week. We'll see if we can go another day without any issues. Hit us up in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. Always a lot of fun. Do that right now. Good morning, Zach. Good to see you. Good to see everybody who's with us up and early on a Friday. Hope everybody's getting ready to have a great weekend. What do we have? Just this coming weekend and then the next one, and then we have football until February. And that is never a bad thing. Yeah, I think that is correct. Wow. So in any event, welcome. Hope everybody's doing okay. Coming up today on the program, Will Stewart will join us from Tech Sideline. We'll talk about the league a little bit and his take on what's going to go down on Monday with Whit Babcock. Also, don't forget that Mike Ashley will make his new show debut right after Will. And we are scheduled to be joined by Phil Steele, publisher of the Phil Steele College Football Preview Magazine, the best of its kind in the history of the world. And Phil is, I think he's going to be okay to join us, but there won't be any video of him today. We have audio only, I was told. He's having some camera issues or something. So that's fine. We'll have him up. We'll put a picture of the mag up or something like that. All it matters is we're going to be getting Phil's expertise about the ACC. And if you guys have any team questions or any, you can put them up in the chat and I'll throw them at him. Text line's 540-391-0788. You can hit me up on that as well. So we got a lot going on today here on this finally Friday edition with Will, with Mike, and with Phil Steele. Went out and got my copy the other day. Here it is. Yeah. There you go. Check it out. 2025, of course, where we are, the ACC cover. A lot of glare there, but you get the gist of it. And Phil has shocking Clemson winning it, followed by SMU and Miami. Virginia Tech at 9. So we'll get into that. Virginia sitting there in a two-way tie. So we'll talk to him about that at 12th. So we'll get into the ACC with Phil coming up. Of course, this program is brought to you in large part by Family Fencing. Appreciate those folks for jumping on board. If you have an old fence, it's an eyesore, no fence, Family Fencing come in and take care of things for you. They have a no-dig installation system. They build strong fences, no holes, no mess, no damage. They're your locally owned fence experts here in the New River Valley, Southwest Virginia. They have wood, vinyl, aluminum, chain link, commercial, residential, agricultural fencing. They have financial options available as well. So get your free quote today. Call Family Fencing at 540-200-8294. Visit familyfencingnrv.com. Family Fencing, better building at fences than anyone. No digging required. So thanks to those folks. And McClellan Chiropractic sponsoring the chat room. So that's coming up today. And also today's the day that I take my son to UVA-Wise right after the show. So it'll be an emotional day. A lot going on. Good morning, Jimmy. Yeah, we should be okay with Phil. I just don't think we're going to have video of him. That's what I was told. But that's fine. I mean, like I said, it's just going to be like the radio interview days. We don't have a problem with that. whatsoever. And by the way, the request for T-shirts continues to come in. Not even through the first week. And we've got merch requests with the new logo, which I appreciate. I'm glad people dig the new logo. So I'm going to start working on that here very soon, and I'll keep you posted where we're going to be with that. But I guess I'm going to have to look into that. Already at least 40 requests for T-shirts. People asking for different types of merch. We'll see what happens. But we'll get into that. Also, we're going to let you play. All right, so my background here, not the most impressive thing in the world, right? I mean, it's just not. It's just kind of, it is what it is. It's not offensive, but it's just there. So I have some virtual backgrounds. The only thing about the virtual backgrounds is that you kind of fade out a little bit. I'm going to put one up here, and I want everyone just to tell me in the chat or on the text line what you think of these. Now, here's the first one. All right. That's just with the logo. But you see what it does because of the lighting, which I'm going to have to adjust, I think. You see what it does right here with my ears? And then when you move your arm, look, you can see the Gratishore jersey. So my question to you in the chat, and we'll go by what you say, would you rather have a virtual background or the natural background? Because it seems to wash me out some, which, again, is not bad for you, the listening and viewing audience. I mean, I like that one with the big logo. But can everybody see that? Let me know in the chat. I mean, it's the one that I like the most. I just don't like what it's doing. Or maybe you can't see that. Can you see that my head disappears? So let me know what you think. But there are all sorts of different ones that you can put in here. You have a basic, hey, how are you? Hey. I could put the secondary logo up behind me. See that one? Yeah, exactly. It kind of looks like a green screen for weather. It does. I don't have a green screen, but it looks like here's a Broncos locker room that I found. Y'all let me know what you think in chat. It just, see how my ears disappear? I mean, we got all sorts of stuff here. But I don't understand why it does that. I mean, these are cool. Hey, you want to go to the mountains? You want to go to do some hiking? Or maybe we can be an animated feature. We're searching for gold through the hills. I mean, these are cool. And if they worked, I would probably use them. If they didn't have that little weird, sorry. So everybody's saying natural. Okay, that's fine. Good morning, everybody. So we all like the natural. Is that what we're doing? See, that would be cool right there with the secondary logo. But you see what it, and I don't disappear as much with that one. What do you think? See, if my ears didn't disappear, it'd be fine. Morning, Dwayne. Mike says natural with shells. Yeah, I got to get the shell. I don't have any shells. I've tasked Mike Palmer with giving me some shelving scenarios. BDST legal counsel Richie Davis says use both. Hey, Evan, good morning. Glad you finally made it live. Good to see you, man. So everybody's saying natural with more sports stuff. Yeah, I know. I know. But this week has been just making sure this thing was going to get off the ground. I really wish that one worked. That's the one I like the most. But we will we'll get that fixed here soon. Don't know how quickly, but we'll get it. I'm thinking if we had stuff like right through here and stuff, we'll be okay. It'll be all right. There is just enough room to put stuff behind me. All right. And I've gotten that a lot, by the way, about the T-shirts. People want the main logo on the front, the secondary logo on the back. Don't know what that would look like. But we'll, sorry, my pillow fell out. But we'll figure all that out. Okay. All right. So thank you. Thank you. I mean, if the virtual backgrounds work better, I'd use it. I'd use the one with the main logo. Right. Yeah, there's something going on up here. Oh, I know there's something going on up here, but I mean, there's something going on with my ears. All right. So Phil Steele, forgive me as I look down to read here, but this thing won't set up, make it look like I'm looking at a teleprompter. Okay. He says, new head coach Brent Pry was 1-6 and 3-8 overall in 22. 23 Tech opened 2-4, but went 5-2. Of course, blew out Tulane. We always throw out the Tulane game just like we throw out Tech's loss in the bowl game last year, right? So I've already lost my train. Okay, Virginia Tech had net close losses, plus 107 yards per game in ACC play and 21 starters. They had the number 2 years ago. They had the number 2 experience chart in Phil's book. So they had high expectations coming into last year because of that. And then, of course, 6-7. They had 5 net close losses and -4 net upsets, signs of a coming upswing. And Virginia Tech does make his most improved list. Yeah. So we'll get into that with Phil as well. And I'll say this, the thing that Phil's very good, and obviously now that it's out there and it's nobody seems to care much anymore, he's big on the advice for the betting community. That's where he's made a lot of his hay. But when he puts a team on his most improved lists, those teams usually have good years. Just saying. So we'll get into all that with him. Again, Phil's going to be audio only. They apologize, but something's going on with his visual. But that's fine. That's fine. Richie wants me to explain. Back here to my left is an old Marvel Comics poster. Everybody see that? And that was from my childhood. And I found that and some other things like that when we went through my mom's house after she passed. And so I brought it and I framed it up. When I was a little kid, and I was, we're talking to Ron Shelburne yesterday about working on the farm. And people say, "Oh, did you get an allowance?" Yeah, Dad used to tell me that my allowance was you had places to eat in the house, you had food, you had a roof, and you had clothes. Oh, thanks, Dad. No argument. No argument. So we'd work and we had a good day coming off, and it was always stopping and getting whatever season it was, baseball cards, football cards. Man, it was anything better than going into one of those convenience stores then. And they weren't like they are now. Now they've kind of branched out in their own franchise. But to go in and grab like a handful of baseball cards in June, in summer, Topps baseball cards, and just have them, and you waited till you got home and couldn't wait. Or it was comic books, and I used to get both. And so I got into Marvel Comics along with, baseball cards, football cards, things like that. So there you go. That's what that is. So you got Randy Gradishar. You got the two worlds in which I lived growing up, Broncos football and Marvel Comics. So there you go. And then there's some stuff over here that you can't really see. So there. Yeah, it is a good group. Thank you, Evan. It's a good group of folks on today with Will and with Mike and with Phil Steele on the program. So Clemson, number 1, SMU, Miami, Georgia Tech, and Florida State. He has them tied for 4th. He's got Louisville, North Carolina, Pitt, and NC State. We'll ask Phil about the whole thing with Bill Belichick. And I thought it was interesting that, yesterday, both Andy Bitter and David Teal both kind of, they weren't necessarily pushing back on the whole Bill Belichick scenario at Carolina. Logic would tell you he's going to outcoach some folks, but I think the big thing I want to see is how relatable does he end up being to the college player. Now, obviously pro is seeped into college sports. So these guys aren't necessarily, we're not naive to think these are just young high school kids anymore, right? And high school recruiting, I will say this. When we started out the show in 2020, and you could tell where things were headed with the NIL when we came back after the dreaded COVID. I kept telling you then, stop worrying about high school recruiting. That should be the least of your worries. It's going to end up being almost a situation where you hear about high school recruits, okay, whatever. Does it I won't say that it doesn't matter, but it's less of a factor now than it ever has been before. So people see that these, Virginia Tech has these verbal commitments and kids are dropping out. All this is kids say they're going somewhere. They get a better offer before they sign. They're going to that school. Then all of a sudden they say they're going to that school. I already know how this works. I've already heard about it from our Radford perspective. You go bring a kid in, you offer a kid. It's already about, yeah, this is great. How much? What am I going to get? These schools across the country, that's all they're dealing with. It's all they're dealing with. Hey, K-State Rob, good morning. So everybody gets to say, oh, Virginia Tech, see there, they can't recruit. Just stop. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. You hear about somebody decommitting. Okay. You're going to go out and get transfers anyway, more so now than ever before. Look what Tech did to replenish their roster at positions that they lost. Right? That's what we said it then, and we got to kind of push back. We got pushed back. But I am proud of the fact that we were ahead of the curve. Just like in 2004 when we announced, courtesy of West Durham, who was in the meeting, that Virginia Tech was going to the ACC back in the old show. I told you the NIL was going to dominate, and transfers, portal, that kind of thing was what you were going to base your team's success on in terms of replenishing the roster. High school stuff, it's great. And you're going to have a diamond in the rough or two or three that want to come to your school that are good and they stay. You're going to end up paying them anyway. It's going to happen, and it does happen, and it's still going to be part of the whole thing. But let's not kid ourselves. Don't look at recruiting high school kids as it used to be, because it's not the same and it never will be. High school kids as juniors are already asking about the potential amount of money they're going to get. That's what they're looking at. You know how you used to look at a school, and I'm not saying this isn't across the board 100%, right, for everybody. I'm not speaking for every kid coming out. But the vast majority, and I talked to a lot of coaches. I mean, back in the day, you used to look at a school's curriculum. Oh, this is what I want to do with my life. There are still kids that do that know they're never going to get a huge handout, but feel like they could go get a scholarship and play college football. So they want to have an education. Yeah, it still happens. Sure. I'm not going to say it doesn't. But they're already thinking, yeah, that's kind of a nice place. I wonder how much money I can end up getting. What's their NIL? What are they doing? So for all of its just horrible shortcomings, ESPN continues to look and call things recruiting. Like, boy, they did a great job on the recruiting trail. No, they went out, they had more money. Yeah, they did a great job. They dropped off more cash agreements. That's all it is for the most part. High school transfers, that's what they're looking for. So that's just where it is. Why do you think Carson Beck went to Miami? They paid him more than anybody else. At the time, he took his girlfriend, or she was there or something, and now they're not together again. So that's why it happens. It's why I guess it makes sense now. It didn't make sense really after the season when we heard Kyron Drones was coming back for a lot of different reasons. But he was hurt, didn't have a good year. And I contend, this is just my opinion, and you can let me know, please, on the McClellan chat room board. A lot of folks chiming in early. The reason he came back, he didn't have enough stuff on tape to think about getting a bigger deal. Now, when he had the big year 2 years ago, that's when LSU was knocking on the door. And he got a lot more money from Tech, so he came back. This year, he didn't have that option. So it makes sense for him why he came back. This was the place that was going to continue to pay him the most. And maybe that gives him a little more motivation as he goes forward. But that's what it is. I mean, you look at these teams and Clemson, we heard it yesterday from David Teal. Clemson finally, after the unbelievable Dabo denial of it, didn't want to take his head out of the sand. How much did we talk about that? They're not going to be able to do this. Hey, Chris from Reiner, good morning. Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining the chat. Everybody, please don't forget, got to spread the word, and it's really important. Now that I'm on here and I talk to my handler of the show, it becomes more important. You need to watch the videos, or at least watch some of them, like them, make comments, anything. Just keep it clean. And like and subscribe. Please, please, please. We're building this thing. I think for the first week, it's been great. We're already getting close to 300 subscribers. It's awesome. That's incredible to me. We've had over 2,500 views of the first 4 shows coming into today. I really appreciate it. It's awesome. Let's spread the word. Let's keep it going. I'll do the best I can to keep this thing to the point to where you want to chime in every morning and start your morning here with us. So thank you. Thank you. But knowing where we are with all this stuff, the teams that are going to be around, Dabo, Clemson, they finally went and they got into the portal. And I believe that's why they're being pushed so highly, because of what they did. He didn't have any choice. And we said this was going to happen. It happened after season last year. He was given an ultimatum, basically. Your high donors, the people who are donating the most money to programs like that, have a huge, huge, huge influence, as you know. You know this. That's why do you think Whit Babcock's going to be doing what he's doing on Monday? Right? Making his appeal to where Tech is money-wise, and then we're going to be making his appeal to the heavy hitters, the money folks. Clemson's a team they've won, I think, 8 of the last 10 ACC titles. Yet at no time really last year or the year before did I feel like that was Clemson. When they played Tech last year in Blacksburg, it's a closer game than a lot of people thought. They didn't look like Clemson, did they? They feel like, because of Cade Klubnik and because of what Dabo did in the portal. I mean, guys in the portal wanted to go to Clemson, and that's been the case for the last few years. He just wasn't doing that. He begrudgingly fell into it. And much like Brent Pry, who, again, because he didn't have any choice, recognized that he had a weakness there, both coordinators. And let's just say it the way it is. Tyler Bowen and Chris Marv were bad hires. And the thing about it, we didn't just say that in hindsight. We said that in foresight. It didn't make sense when it was made. Both announcements never made sense. And I put myself in that situation because you have to know, a man's got to know his limitations. Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry. What a great movie. You have to know that, okay, I'm a first-year head coach. Here I am. I've never done this. I better get some help. So he didn't do that. Brought in 2 coordinators with no experience. He has no experience, and now here we are in a make-or-break year. But to his credit, he adapted. And I think that's pretty cool. That means he's got the self-awareness to understand it can't keep going the way it's going, or he's not going to have a job, first and foremost. So he made some changes, and so far we've heard all week from our amazing array here, whether it's Bill Roth or Mike Burnett, Damian Sordelet on Wednesday, Teal, Andy. I mean, they brought in guys that people really have a positive vibe about. Offensive line coach, needed a new one, needed a new offensive line. They went out and got it. So kudos. Much like the situation with Clemson, Dabo finally didn't really want to, didn't have a lot of choice, saying, here we are. Let's just bring it in. And that's what he did. So this whole thing is always going to be messy. It's always going to smell. It's never going to be looked at the same because of the NIL. There's still no rules in place, right? We kept waiting for almost 2 years for the court, the judge to finally rule. And when they did, you're still sitting around going, did that really change anything? And then, the answer is no. And in college football, all it does is leave the power brokers open to do business as they see fit. And of course, we know who the two power brokers are. Which is why why do you think all of a sudden you're hearing rumblings again about conference realignment? Right? It feels like the SEC is going to be the most aggressive. Yeah, Richard says one would think the NCAA would say at some point you can only move once, maybe twice. And I agree, Richard, but you see, they've had no rules in place at all. They are scared to death of another series of lawsuits brought to them against them by student athletes and parents. They're not going to win. They can't put the genie back in the bottle. I mean, they've done this to themselves, and they've done this to fans, and they've done this to the free market. And the NIL and revenue sharing, even at a place like Radford, we opted in, right? You have no choice. But the NIL is built, and I was a proponent of players being paid. You heard me tell the story earlier this week if you were watching the shows. About Peyton Manning, million jerseys, he didn't see a dime. That's not right. It's not right. Michael Vick didn't see a dime. No. What did Michael Vick say a couple years ago? You know what? With the way things are going, I never would have went pro. I'd have stayed one more year in Blacksburg. Can you imagine how much money he would have made in his prime? Can you imagine the bidding war that would have been out there for Michael Vick coming off of his sophomore year? In today's money, adjusted inflation, woo. But if you're a member of a team, and that's why football, the salaries are huge, and that's why it's such a just cutthroat, it's a meat market. No apologies from these programs or their coaches. They just go out and they're trying to spend money to buy these folks to come in and help them. But they're making revenue because of the massive TV deals, right? You're making the school, the athletic department money. So therefore, those salaries, you can kind of go, okay, all right. But you see, in some places, it's just now you're paying just to be paying. If you're paying student athletes to come in, if you're paying them a certain stipend or salary, and your athletic department is not going to make very much of any money at all out of it, then why are you doing it? You know, that's where it got skewed, because there are no rules to separate. Okay, you know what? You're part of this. This program makes us this amount of dollars, so let's go here and negotiate, because you're an employee, and that's what they are now. They're employees, right? That was the ruling. You're an employee here like you are in your job, like I am in my job. That's what I'm trying to do with this show. I'm my own employee. I'm trying to make it into something, right? If you're part of a program and you're making it into something where it's creating profit, then that's what the NIL is supposed to mean. It's not just supposed to mean a free-for-all for anyone who just wants to, get paid because they choose to go to a school, whether it creates dividends for you or not. And that's the part that it makes no sense. But none of it has made sense for many decades now, because the NCAA, just like in politics, all of their lies, all of their dirty schemes got revealed. Greed and more greed kept anything from slowly materializing. If this would have been eased into the equation way back in the early 2000s, and there would have been some understanding, and someone would have just had the foresight, self-awareness. It's not there enough. if somebody would have just gotten a hold of leadership and said, all right, this is where we think this is going, man. You look at what we're doing. Look at the money that's being brought. Look at these TV deals. We already have people complaining. We got the Ed O'Bannon case. We better get ahead of this a little bit. And if they would have, this would not have been nearly as messy. And I think all of us as fans, when you're eased into something, it goes a lot better. Just when you're plopped down and this is your new reality and you're just in a state of shock. And that's what we are as fans. And I think that's what a lot of these coaches are. And the athletic directors are across the country. Wow. How much money is it going to take? We weren't eased into it. It wasn't a gradual ascension. It's just like, boom, this is it. And we're mad, right? We being student athletes. How many times we heard these stories where past student athletes are saying they're going to get sued because they didn't get a certain amount of NIL, which is ridiculous because that wasn't even something on the table when they were playing. But yet you see the mindset and how it shifted. That was the mindset that the leaders in college athletics had for decades. Can we remember when we were little? I know I did. When you were watching games, you couldn't wait, right? You didn't have nearly as many choices. So whatever game was on, you were watching. But you see those NCAA commercials, and it was all about, the honor. They would have the little guy who would show up, who's on the trophies, with the little the crown of leaves on his head, getting his degree and being an NCAA athlete, your education, blah, 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 blah. It was all just a money laundering scheme, right? I mean, I'm sorry, but the jaded part of me looks at it like, all these years they were selling education. And I know there are a lot of presidents still to this day, the Big Ten, probably the Power Four leagues are more concerned about the educational value of the whole thing than anybody else. I believe that from what I'm told around that league. But it was all just a big lie. Hokey Bob says in the chat room, by the way, the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. 1,000 for me, 1 for you. 2,000 for me, 1 for you. Exactly. And every athletic department, every school administrator above the athletic department was in on it. And the Ed O'Bannon case changed it all because Ed O'Bannon and his handlers realized, no, we know what's been going on. That's true. Jimmy says Texas Tech football is doubling NIL money right now. They are. They're spending more money really than anybody in the Big 12 right now. Texas Tech has gotten huge donations from very wealthy donors. It's a lot of money in Texas. A lot of oil money in Texas. Did you know that? Breaking news. Richard says factors of the education still need to be made the grade, right? Yeah, you do. But in theory, Richard, you're 100% right. Good morning, Rodney. How are you? Good to see you. Yes. And I'm at Radford. And I've said this. Nothing makes me more proud to be a Radford grad, be the voice of the Highlanders, work in that athletic department than knowing how damn hard our student athletes work. Our GPA is the highest in the Big South every year. Every year. I think last year, the teams that we have averaged like 3.3 grade point. Averaged. I'm so proud of that. I see how hard they work and our coaches. It's awesome. So that to me becomes more personal. But yeah, you're right. The educational part, it's basically out the window. I mean, if you're going around these major basketball programs or any basketball program, all they have to do is get through the first semester. Right? Have the grades. If you're there for 1 year or if it's your last year of eligibility, and thank God we're now getting through the final hideous extra year because of COVID. That just caused all sorts of confusing in the recruiting cycle. But if you're going somewhere and this is it, and you're getting a big payday, you just have to basically get through the first semester. If your grades are in good standing, it doesn't really matter what happens in the spring. And something I was calling for back when the show was still on radio Where's the incentive clauses? Where's the contracts? That's what I would have done. If you're an employee, that's the ruling, they're employees. Welcome. Welcome to your new job. Thank you. Here's what we expect. If these things aren't met, tough. You don't get paid. And I think you can add the academic part in there. Maybe that's just naive from me as a guy who values the academic side of it so much. But the schools would then control it. Now, the problem with that is, and I already know what you're going to say because I've already read articles on it. If a handful of schools take that approach, then there's no guarantee any other school is going to do that. And they're going to hear about, hey, I heard what happened at State University. Boy, that's pretty tough, isn't it? Because there's nothing across the board, right? There's no contracts across the board because the NCAA has virtually no power over it. And the ruling did nothing to change that. So you can't really just say, hey, this is the way it's going to be from every school going forward. No, that would be by choice, and that's why we're not going to have it. And you're going to have people recruiting against it. If some school does have the foresight to do that, another school is going to say, come on over here. Here's your money guaranteed. That's why you see these guaranteed contracts, right? NFL especially, when a guy will add years and re-up with a team. How much of that money is guaranteed in a signing bonus or whatever it might be up front? And that's what these college players who are learning from all these things in the pros, who now have hired similar agents in a lot of cases, types of agencies, maybe even the same agencies. That's just where we are now. There's a whole different underworld of business right now with people representing high school and college kids just to get them a bigger payday. And they're working on commission. It's rampant. It's one of the biggest growing businesses in this country. So we haven't got any resolution other than this is the reality. There's no fighting it. There's no trying to sit back and say, But as to tie it all back together, us as fans, we were dropped into this new world. It wasn't eased in, just like I said earlier. It wasn't eased in for anybody, really. And now here we are, and we're all just trying to keep paddling upstream. And that's where you have to close your eyes really hard and just watch the games and hope that that takes you away. That's right. Kansas football in the chat. Yeah, they you got a $300 million gift from one donor 2 days ago. And you know why they got $300 million? Because Kansas wants to go to the SEC. They want to leave the Big 12. Imagine being a school where you can get $300 million from one donor. And that's the way it is at Texas Tech. That's the way it was at SMU. I'm not saying 300 million, but I mean, there's a lot of advantages. Certain states, certain programs, certain areas where they're tired of being beat up. They're tired of these same schools winning year in and year out, even if you're in one of the power leagues. Kansas has gorgeous facilities. We played out there many years ago, Radford basketball, when we had Art Parakowski and Joey Lynch floor. Brad Greenberg was the coach. And we went out there, Allen Fieldhouse, Bill Self and the crew. Just awesome campus, awesome facilities. It's been improved now. That was back in the 2009, 2008, 2009 when Radford played there. So you're looking at, 15 years later, 16 years later, and the improvements, I'm sure, across the board, place like that. So Kansas is making some moves. Kansas is positioning themselves, and they have intel, or they wouldn't be putting that out there. See, it's one thing to get those kind of gifts, and it's one thing to make sure that the entire college sporting world knows you're getting those kind of gifts. So you're looking for higher revenue, and that's what they got. And when we talk to Phil, we're going to be able to kind of close this off a little bit. You know, when you go out and you buy this book right here, you know, you go through it and you have to just kind of turn that part of your brain off a little bit, right? And you just go, okay, this is just like the past. We have names listed here for first team, second team. We have prediction of teams. We have a rundown of how they've done recently, right? There's a whole full preview in here. You know, this is the thing about this book. And you know, I'm about making, look how gorgeous this thing is. Like when you get, and you know, because you get, look how he color codes there. Here's Virginia Tech. I mean, he color codes every team. That's how I do my basketball spot charts. Just awesome. Just awesome. And I say it, and I'm not on Phil's payroll, by the way, ever. I remember when I had the old show, the first run of the show, someone said that Phil must be paying me. Phil's on like 300 shows a year. Yeah, that's right. We're all getting a cut from the mag. No, we're just trying to tell you that this is all you need to spend your money on. I don't get a damn dime. Never have, never will. I just don't want you to go out and buy any of the other so-called preview magazines. And then you're going to go, wow, that was what? 2 paragraphs, paragraph and a half? Woo! You can listen to the first 5 minutes of any of the guests that we've had on this week and know more about tech football than those magazines cover. But yet this thing right here will last you for the entire year. And at the end, you'll go, wow, I missed about half of this book. There's so much information. Just unbelievable. And now it's become even more popular, by the way. And I don't know whether I'll talk to him about this or not because, you know, but you know, it shouldn't be a touchy subject anymore. But because of where we are, the acceptance of the wagering world. I mean, hell, look at college football's biggest partner, ESPN. You can't watch anything that they're doing without the ESPN bet thing popping up on the screen. Or it's a full-blown commercial popping up on the screen. Kind of like when I do this and you see that, like and subscribe, that's what they'll do. Hey, we're talking with the starting quarterback, Cade Klubnik of the Clemson Tigers. Be sure to go out and hit ESPN Bet. But because of that, this book has become even more popular, and he also has a service that you can subscribe to for the people out in Vegas. And trust me, people in Vegas are very aware and of Phil Steele. Phil Steele is the best, yes. Now, again, he'll be on in the third hour, and it won't be a picture. It won't be any video, apparently. Apparently, we're having issues on that end. So we'll have him on audio-wise. So I'm going to like put the book up or something. I don't know. I'll figure it out. It's my first week. Hey, I just started. Boss, it's my first week, man. Let me figure this out. Come on. Oh, wait a minute. I don't have a boss. It's just me. Just me. You're my boss. Smartest listening audience in radio. So anyway, that's where we are. And I kind of went on a rant there. I mean, that just happens. I don't plan these things. They just kind of happen. So I hope that didn't bore you. But you all know. I mean, it's not anything that's new under the sun. And you don't deny it. You don't deny it. You just go, you have to roll with it. You evolve or you die. And that's where we are in college athletics. I don't know where I don't think we're ever going to hit. Somebody says, when's the shoe going to drop? I don't think it's going to. Because there's too much self-interest, and there's too much self-interest by the people who have the power. What we're doing, we're seeing a shift of when the people who had the power were the presidents and the NCAA, and they were all on the same page. So therefore, there was no challenging any of this. So now the power lies with the SEC and the Big Ten. They are just like this, no matter what they try to say about being competitive against each other. All the leadership of those leagues are locked in together. And they all have the same goal, which is world domination. Now, eventually, when you have two Axis powers vying for the top spot on the mountain. One is going to betray the other. Cain betrayed Abel. Was he like the third and fourth people on the planet at the time? So at some point, this whole trajectory partnership that these two leagues have, not going to be so friendly anymore. Wayne says we need a tour of the corner shifts. I do want to figure that out. I want to be able to figure out, and may have to do it via phone. I don't know. But yeah, I would take everyone around my newly designed downstairs, which didn't happen until a few months ago. Got that worked on over the spring into the early summer. So it's nice down here. Yeah, that starting lineup figure, that's my rookie Tony Gwynn figure. I wonder if I can grab that. Hang on. I'm going to see if I can grab it. Yeah, there we go. See right there? That's my Tony Gwynn, still in the package. I mean, it's not worth a great amount of money, but to me, it means a hell of a lot more than that. So see that? That's my Anthony Keith Gwynn starting lineup in the brown and orange road jersey, which I didn't mind. Because at one point they were brown and orange, just brown and orange. And then they went to the hideous blue. But there you go. That's TG right there. Greatest pure hitter I've ever seen. Had the chance to interview him twice. As much as he came across if you remember seeing interviews and how classic it was when Ted Williams was there during the Boston All-Star game and how nice as he seemed to be. He's 100 times nicer when you meet him. Crazy. I was a nobody. Had press passes, went out to San Francisco. May have been the first time I'd ever seen the Padres. This was at the old Jack Murphy Stadium. Everybody remember Jack Murphy Stadium? Before it became Petco. And I was on the field during batting practice. And I had sports director. And you're just sitting there, and he came in from BP, and he was sitting down, and I said, hey, Tony, you have time to do an interview? And I had someone with me, and they had a camera, and he was, oh, yeah, sure. Of course, he kind of talked like this. He had that great voice that he made fun of. Sat down, and he was unbelievable. And you're in awe at first, and then you realize I'm just talking to a guy who would talk about baseball and hitting anybody who would ask him. And then when we started the new show in 2001, 2002, I worked it out again and had him on, and he was the same. And he was taken far, far too soon. One of the worst days of my life when that news came out that he died of cancer. So anyway, that's my Tony Gwynn. I've lost track of where I am. So yeah, that's where we are. And I've just come to the acceptance of it that this is where we are. You have to play the long game in terms of the NIL. And evolve or die. You can be in denial like Dabo was all you want. And then sometimes different factors come in and make you realize you were wrong. Or even if you weren't wrong, your way of thinking isn't something that's going to continue to be accepted, especially when you're not winning conference titles anymore. And I say anymore because, again, I started this whole thing by reminding you that they've won 8 of the last 10 ACC titles. So it's not as if they're struggling in that regard. So, yeah. Will Stewart will join us here coming up at the top of the hour, followed by Mike Ashley. We did a test with Mike yesterday. Mike was scared to death over the the new technology. And I said, Mike, all you do is just join via the streamline I'm seeing. And by the way, we had people bring this up. I think it was Reggie. Reggie, still with us in chat? Reggie brought something up that I thought about a lot yesterday. That maybe, because we can't take phone calls anymore, right? We didn't take a lot of phone calls on the show because it was so early, especially from the 6 to about 7:15, 7:30 back in the old show. But Reggie brought up, maybe we should, if you want to come on and be side by side, I can send me your email. I'm not going to do it today, but think about it. Would that be worth your while? If you want to come on and you want to talk like we used to do, if I sent you a link and you join very quickly, would that be something you would want to do? I have no problem with sharing my screen because this show's for it's about the audience. You're the ones who brought me back. Hell, I was done. So I don't know. Think about it and let me know. Let me know in the McClelland chiropractic chat room. Just like you did about the T-shirts. I just looked it up. 44 T-shirt requests from different viewers. So now I feel like I got to get on this pretty quickly. But in any event, I digress. Thanks for asking, Wayne. Monday, mega sponsor announcement. Matter of fact, two. One mega sponsor announcement, and then the other, a really good sponsor announcement. That will be on Monday. Haven't formulated the Monday program yet. Things right now, day-wise, aren't necessarily set. I know going forward, Fridays are probably set. I know Mike Burnup is going to be basically set on the same day, but you're still trying to figure it out, with the new format. I mean, the whole array of the cavalcade of BDST guests, I didn't even get on the show this week because the interviews were so good. You're just like, I don't want to cut people off. So, again, there's no rules. I can do whatever the hell I want, which is what's great. Now, Louise Baker, who, by the way, helps present Mike Burnup on this show, says yes to T-shirts. There's 45. 45! Because people dig the new logo. I'm glad. But I think people want. Let me leave here for a second here. I'll tell you what, let me minimize myself. So people want that, if I'm not mistaken, on the front in some capacity, and then that on the back. The secondary mark, as it were. So that's what we're doing. But thank you. I appreciate that. So let me know. Think about it. That is a way to have you on. I can send you a link and you can come on and we can just talk like you would a phone call. I'm not opposed to that whatsoever. I'm a man of the people. Doesn't bother me at all. Yeah, that's the goal, Brandon. Get somebody to sponsor the shirts and have them printed. And then I will sell them for millions. No, I'm just kidding. Rodney says, one of the first times I met you, you were the Pulaski Yankees announcer. And you were the official scorekeeper. That's right. Did Pulaski Yankees baseball for 2 years. It was awesome. Got to work with some great people. Not only Betsy Hall was the GM. David Hagan was the owner, and he hired me, came to me and wanted me to do the game. So I did. It was fun. And getting to work with the Yankees organization was awesome. Got to call 4 innings of baseball with Reggie freaking Jackson. Got to call 4 innings of baseball with Ken Griffey Sr. Got to meet the dad from Field of Dreams. Can't remember the actor's name. But, at the end when he comes out of the cornfield, Kevin Costner, Dad, you want to have a catch? Yeah, I like that, son. He was there. He showed up. But I'm not going to lie, the Reggie Jackson night was just almost like an out-of-body experience. Because he got to the ballpark, he was there as an instructor, and I got there early the days he was there. Rodney, you probably remember if you were there. So we were there, and just Reggie was out there working with the young guys. He's out there in a cutoff shirt. He's 71 years old. He looks in great shape. And I'm going to have to tell the Reggie Jackson locker room story at some point. It's not necessarily, it might be BDST after dark, but yet it happened. But I digress. We're watching him work out with the kids. He's sweating, he's out there and he's he goes in and Betsy comes up, the GM. She goes, "Hey, Reggie, I'd like to come up and do a couple innings with you. Is that okay?" Gee, don't know. Wait a minute. Hall of Famer Mr. October wants to do some innings, and let me think about it. So she walks him up, third inning. He's coming up, shaking everybody's hand, by the way, signing autographs. People think Reggie Jackson's a certain, he is. He was a tough guy. He was a honorary, just balls to the wall type of player. Gets up there, he meets everybody in the press box. And by the way, he took pictures with everybody. I'll have to post those at some point. And he sat down and we got into the game and we talked about it. Ended up doing 4 innings. And we started talking about his movie career. Remember in The Naked Gun when he tried to kill the queen? Must kill the queen. He was under some kind of trance. It's awesome. But in any event, yeah, that was fun times, Rodney. That was good time. Those 2 years. That was good stuff. And then they lost their Major League Baseball affiliation the next year, and it's just not the same in the whole Appalachian League. The whole league lost all that because the commissioner's a moron. That's the way they want to save money. And took that away from Calfee Park and all those parks. Great people around that league. Great people. Great league, the history of that league, the history of Calfee Park and what it means to Pulaski County. Best minor league baseball stadium in the world. And Major League Baseball yanked that out from all those wonderful historical places. Just terrible. Just absolutely terrible. Don't forget to check out Family Fencing. They were our first official sponsor here on the program. And they have a no-dig installation system. They build you beautiful fences, no big holes, no mess, and no damage. They're locally owned fence experts here in the New River Valley in Southwest Virginia, specializing in aluminum, vinyl, wood, and chain link for residential, commercial, and agricultural. Finance options are available. Call them up 540-200-8294. FamilyFencingNRV.com. Free quotes. Family Fencing, building better fences, no digging required. So make sure you, if you do contact, tell them that you heard us talking about it right here on the program. Just like right now, you're about to hear on the program, the man who founded, speaking of having a dream and making it his lifelong work, Will Stewart, founder of Tech Sideline. What's up, William? You look outstanding. You've got the virtual studio going.
How we doing, Rick? How do I look?
I left mine up to the vote, and the peeps wanted me to get it out of there because my ears were completely gone. So I dropped mine. I'm going to have to figure this out. I got people on my shelf situation, though. So,
well, I understand, but in my case, the peeps have to understand what they don't want to see is behind me. This is my basement office at my home, folks, and you really don't want to see what's behind me. It's a mess. So, you'll have to. You have to do with the disappearing ears and all that. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Hey, well, speaking now, let's talk about it. Now that set behind you. Mm-hmm. I've been keeping up with your posts on social media. You've been working hard for a long time. You guys have a brand new podcast set, man. Talk about. I think it just debuted, right? Yesterday, was that right?
It did. We did a short video on it on Wednesday. You can find on our YouTube channel, Tech Sideline, and it's actually a really cool video. Carter Hill and I, Carter's actually graduated now. He was one of our student interns. So there's about 15 minutes of Carter asking me about building the set, and then there's about 15 minutes of a time-lapse video that is pretty cool to see the whole build process from beginning to end. And we built the old set. For anybody that's watched the Tech Sideline podcast, we built the old set in 2019. So it was 6 years old. And when we built it, I said this on the video with Carter, when we built it, we could fit 3 people on stage, and that was all we had. We had the host, and we had me and Chris Coleman. And over the years, we grew and we added people, and the set wasn't big enough. And then we started bringing some of these huge athletes in to have them on the show. And Eric McLean's also been in studio and sat in one of our chairs. Eric McLean is something like 6'7", 350 pounds. He's huge. So we're having defensive tackles in there. Justin Mutz is coming in. He's 6'7", and so we felt the need to build a new set. And this one's much larger. You can see the room that's there. It's very cool. It's a little bit more high tech. Well, not a little bit more high tech. It's a lot more high tech. And the big thing we're excited about is we're going to have the ability to patch people in remotely via, a similar technology to what you use to patching people in. So we'll be able to go from just having guests in studio to having guests from anywhere. So I'm literally going to go on the message board and say, who do you want us to try to get to come on?
I like that.
So the ultimate goal here, Rick, is to produce a show that's so professional that we could sell it to the ACC network.
Hey,
even if they're going to run it at 2 a.m. and pay me $1,000 a month, that's fine. I joke.
People would go live at 2 a.m. Sure.
I don't say. Well, we don't go live. We pre-record our stuff.
Oh, okay.
We recorded live for many years. We're up to episode 428 or something like that, and we recorded live through 265. And from doing live radio and live YouTube that if you just keep doing it, you're just rolling the dice that you're going to do something really stupid one day.
I know. It's going to happen here. I keep telling people we're going to get cut off. We'll disappear. Stay with us, or you might hear something you didn't need to hear. Yeah, exactly.
Well, be careful of what you say, Rick, because if they've got these AI bots crawling your content looking for the wrong words.
Dun, dun, dun. They do.
I kid you not.
Wayne asked, did you have to make the set bigger to fit Chris Coleman's guns?
That was another consideration.
He's big. Yeah, he's in good shape. He's put together, man.
He is a muscular individual. I'm sorry.
The answer is yes, Wayne.
I'm laughing at something a girl told me once about Chris that I can't repeat on the air. Sorry.
Oh, come on, man. It's YouTube. Let's go for it.
All right. So I asked a female friend of ours, I said, do you think Chris is hot? And she goes, oh, yeah, he's an 8. I was like, really? She goes, yeah. And she looks at me. She goes, biceps are like boobs, Will. And then she repeated it at least once more. So I was like, oh.
That's a big endorsement.
Okay.
Big.
Yeah. So he's got some biceps. So, good for him.
Yeah, that's funny. All right. Here we are.
You've got something in your mind. And you're just not saying it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I got it in me. I better let it go. What this season means for Virginia Tech, I think, is well known. Nobody's trying to hide it, which I like. I like the fact that nobody's trying to act like, oh, no, we don't have to. No, the Tech has to win, or 2 jobs won't be there next year that we know of. So how are you feeling about the way they've gone about it? I mean, the coordinators have gotten some positive vibes all week from the people I've talked to, and change had to be made, and it was made. Are you getting a sense that that's being well received overall?
Yeah, the fan base. Let's talk about the fan base first. I think they're in Missouri territory. It's very much a show me attitude. We've and I watched. If you remember, our parent company also used to own the Sabre, which was a UVA website, and I saw them go through an evolution where they had George Welsh, who was clearly an excellent coach for a long time. They had what's his name that followed? I'm blanking. Al Groh.
Al Golden? Al Groh. Yeah, Al Groh.
So they followed with Al Groh. Then I think they followed Al Groh with Mike London, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. Bronco Mendenhall. No, yes, Mike London, then Bronco Mendenhall. So anyway, the whole point I'm making is that every time they hired a new coach, they'd get all excited because that was a really strong football fan base back in the 90s. UVA was really good. And then their performance started to decline. They started to hire and fire coaches. And over time, the fan base got less and less excited about hiring new coaches. So they developed this show me attitude. And, I'll believe it when I see it. And that's where Virginia Tech fans are with Brent Pry right now. They like Brent Pry. I've never met anybody who doesn't like Brent Pry.
Yeah.
He's a lot of fun to be around. He's a great guy. But everybody wants to see success and production on the field. The preseason hype doesn't matter anymore. Now, all that said, the general consensus of opinion is I didn't really have a problem with Tyler Bowen as an offensive coordinator. The previous one. He had his moments where he was really good, had his moments where he wasn't so great, but that's offensive coordinating for you. That's how it goes. I think it's become clearer over time that Chris Marv was, I don't want to be too harsh, but he was really not a good defensive coordinator. And you started to see that the thing that you can really point to prove that is that Rutgers game last year where they were running that drag route with the tight end across the middle. And I'll never forget this stat. They ran that play 9 times in the first half and went 9 for 9 on it. And Virginia Tech had no answer. And Virginia Tech goes into halftime, and then they come out of halftime, Rutgers runs that play, and Tech stops it, which tells you Chris Marv had nothing in the moment. And they went into halftime and got together as a coaching staff, and I don't know who came up with the solution, but somebody said, listen, man, when they run that play again here, do this to stop it. And that just really points to a guy who didn't have a good game plan, couldn't adjust on the fly. And I think that the linebacking core could have been better. That was his position group. So Sam Cephas is a new defensive coordinator. We don't know much about Sam. We know he's a football wonk. He knows his football. He's going to have to be a better defensive coordinator than Chris Marv. I mean, if you're walking, eating, and breathing, you're probably a better defense coordinator than Chris Marv. And again, that sounds really harsh, and I don't want it to.
Well,
and they've got Montgomery as the offensive coordinator. He's got a great history. Can he apply it at Virginia Tech with this group of players he's got here? So that's all a big, long, rambling answer to say that I think that the coaching staff as a whole is better. Now, we can talk about Brent Pry. Is he going to be better in games? I don't know. Part of that depends upon who's in his ear suggesting to him what to do. So there's that thing where you kind of know what you've got. But as far as the offensive defense coordinator and the strength and conditioning coach, I think they've improved. Is it too little, too late? That's the question that we don't know the answer to.
It was interesting, Will. We had Dwight Vick on yesterday, and he's been a huge Pry guy from the onset. I mean, he talked about it. And he said when he started to realize maybe he was not correct was that Miami game last year and the whole fake field goal fiasco, which I know you talked about, and just kick the field goal, go up by 2 scores, and you probably win that football game instead of trying to do something that just made little sense. And he goes, that's just the kind of thing that in year 3, you can't be doing that. That's something maybe as a first-year coach you may try to do and you could get away with it. But those are the kind of things you're talking about, right? In games got to be better. I mean, they can't keep – anytime you're losing that many close games, it's not because the other team's always doing something. It's because you're just not making the right calls as a coach. And you're right, that's got to step up here in year 4.
Yeah, and I'm a little more forgiving for him for that particular instance that you cited because I would be aggressive if I was a coach. I think coaches are too conservative, and I get it. They get along in the profession and they fear losing more than they treasure winning. And there's that old thing of more football games are lost than are won. So I think coaches get conservative. So I kind of like it when a guy gets aggressive. Like, I don't remember the exact situation, Rick, but that was a kill shot. If they had converted that into a touchdown, that would have put them way up, and it really would have been a serious blow. But wasn't it the Miami game last year where Virginia Tech scored with about 45 to 50 seconds left to go in the first half?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember the details. I just remember Brent Pry, out of frustration on a play, calling a timeout late in the half that gave Miami enough clock to eventually go down the field and tack a field goal all right before halftime, if I'm remembering.
I think that's correct.
Situation. Yeah. It's just he has a long history of those kind of things just lining up against him. And I think the record in one-score games is up to, in air quotes, 1-12. And eventually, you are what your record says you are. That's not all bad luck, and you can't blame all that on the refs, and you can't blame all of that on strength and conditioning. It eventually lands on the head coach.
Well, and he's feeling that, as he should, and everybody around the program, as you said, is feeling that. Nobody's going to say a bad word about him personally, but it's time to win. And if they don't win this year, it's going to have major repercussions for a long time. And that ties into what's going to happen on Monday. Much of the stuff has been known publicly, as David Teal talked about, but it's a big week right off the bat for Whit Babcock, isn't it?
Yeah. How do we summarize that topic for your listeners? Whit is going to do a presentation. I'm sitting there. If you see me looking down, I've got everything pulled up, a bunch of slides that he's going to talk about. He is, and I think what we're about to talk about, he has already previewed it with the Board of Visitors. But on Monday, he's going to do a big presentation to the Board of Visitors. We're going to have Andy Bitter there to watch it and report on it. And that presentation is going to be what I think is a very impressive series of slides, PowerPoint type stuff that sums up where Virginia Tech is financially versus Whit's not really going to get into versus college athletics as a whole. He's going to compare Virginia Tech to the rest of the ACC, both public and private institutions. One of the things people need to know is that the financials, the athletic financials for private institutions, are not public. The federal government requires you to, I can't remember what the organization is, but they require you to report detailed athletics revenue and expenses. But if you're a public school, but private schools are not required to report that. But anyway, Witt somehow got the data, and it doesn't paint a pretty picture. Of the 9 public schools in the ACC, Virginia Tech is 9th in athletic budget. When you take the private schools into account, it's, you're talking 17 schools, and Virginia Tech is, I believe it's 13th out of 17 schools in the ACC in terms of athletic budget. And so it's a presentation of, it's a call, it's a plea for more institutional support from the university as a whole. And that's where things get dicey, because Virginia Tech, historically, Whit told me once upon a time in a conversation, he said, if you look at the history of Virginia Tech's athletic department, it's been a net positive financially for the university. Now, let's be clear about one thing. Athletics has its financial bucket here, and the university, which is much larger, is over here. The university does not fund athletics. It funds itself. But historically, there have been many years in the past where the athletic department has run a big surplus, particularly under Jim Weaver. He was phenomenal with the money. He really was. And I used to actually criticize him because they'd be turning profits of, I'm not lying, on budgets of 65 to 70 million. They'd be turning profits of, there was one year where they had a profit of 8 million on a budget of 70 million, which is very impressive in college athletics. And he was choking the life out of some programs and being cheap while he was running these huge surpluses. So anyway, this isn't public knowledge, but there were years where athletics was pushing several $1 million over into the university as a whole. So the athletics has been a profit center for the university at times in the last 20, 25 years. Well, what Whit is asking is that the university kind of flip that around and provide some university support for athletics. And they're already, I think the biggest thing they're doing there is they're increasing student fees. And that is, I probably can't really pull up the slide here in the moment, but they have increased. I'm going to do it here. Hang on.
All right.
So the Virginia Tech student athletic fees are the lowest in the state. It's not even close. So let me do a student. There we go. The student athletic fees are running. I don't know, guys. I can't find the number here. It's a huge article. Let's say $350 a year, $400 a year for the students. Most schools in the state are over $1,000, including, I think, Radford University, which is near and dear to your heart. I think they're over $1,000.
Right.
Schools like JMU makes, if I got my numbers correct, JMU makes something like $30 million off of student athletic fees. Their fees are very high. So while Tech is running a student athletic fee of, let's say, $400 to $450 a year, UVA's at $750 a year, for example. And so other schools are bringing in more money. And one of the things Virginia Tech is going to do to support athletics is they're increasing the student athletic fee from that $400 to $450 range up to about $750. And that will take, if I remember my numbers correctly, the student athletic fees from, $5, $6, $7 million up to $10 million. So that's an example of what you mean when you talk about institutional support. Some of it, Rick, is the direct transfer of money, just sending the athletic department $5 million a year. And private universities have been doing that for years. So he's going to lay out how far behind Virginia Tech is, behind their peers in the ACC, or some of their ACC schools aren't peers. Let's be honest. Some of them are superior from a revenue standpoint: Clemson, Florida State, and UNC. But he wants to move Virginia Tech further up the ladder in the ACC and be more competitive. So there's a lot more to it than you and I can cover sitting here chatting. And the article on Tech Sideline is actually free. So if you go and it recaps everything, the title of it is Virginia Tech AD Whit Babcock's upcoming Board of Visitors presentation. So just Google Whit Babcock Board of Visitors Tech Sideline, and you'll be presented with an article that has a lot of really great slides in it and a lot of great information.
All right. Yeah, be sure to check that out. Was that was David Cunningham, right, that wrote that article?
Yeah, David. So this information hit the internet. Doug Bowman had a really good Twitter thread about it, and Doug had found the PDF of Whit's information that he's going to present to the Board of Visitors. And so Doug put it on Twitter, and this was like Sunday. So we started talking about it in the company Slack. We're like, man, we need to cover this. We need to pull this up and cover it. And that's my way of saying that David stayed up till 3 a.m. Sunday night writing this up. The guys that work for me are incredible. They're talented, and when you ring the bell, they will answer the call. And staying up till 3 a.m. to produce something like this is you got to give David kudos, and he did a great job. It's very clear.
Virginia Tech, part of a very important opening day, right, or at least weekend. That the doubleheader day of Tech in South Carolina and Miami and Notre Dame is massive for the profile of the conference, isn't it? I mean, you get kind of thrown in the waters pretty quickly if you're the ACC to see if you're going to be able to have some of those teams that are picked to do well, like Miami, and Tech, who's kind of picked middling to maybe take a big step, right?
Number 11. Number 11 in the ACC. Not number 11 in the country, number 11 in the ACC.
Middling.
Yeah. By the way, there's no way they finish 11th in the ACC.
No way.
I'm going to say it right now. There's no way. That's 2-6, 3-5 territory.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Phil's got him going 9th. Phil still got him 9th, I think.
Yeah, they've been. So let's pull up last year where they were in the ACC last year. Give me a second.
Yeah, it's got him 9th. But he does have them listed as one of his most improved teams. which that's usually money for Phil. I mean,
that's interesting.
He usually knocks that out of the park.
So if you go 2024, yeah, Virginia Tech went 4-4 in the ACC, and that finished 3-4. That was 8th. I mean, as mediocre as Virginia Tech has been for 10, 15 years now, they're not finishing 11th in the ACC. They always finish better than that. Even when you're watching them going, ew, that doesn't look very good. They're at least middle of the ACC. So 11th is kind of ridiculous. So Phil, most improved. What does that mean?
Well, he's got 12 teams listed. And this is when he hits a home run, this is this chart that he usually hits the most home runs on. The percentage is incredible. He lists, I'll get him to talk about it since Tech's on here. But Florida State leads this group.
Well, there's a lot of room to improve there.
Well, there is.
2-10, 1-7 in the ACC.
Utah, Oklahoma, Oregon State. Carolina is picked 6, North Carolina. NC State is 10. He's got 12 teams listed. Tech is 12th. They're at the lower end, but still, they did make his list, and I thought that was very, very interesting. So I can't wait to get his reasoning as to why he likes that so much. So,
well, it's interesting. I think they got a good coaching staff. The switch to Jarrett Ferguson as strength and conditioning is, strength and conditioning takes a while to manifest itself in a program. So Justin Fuente comes on. 2016 is his first season, and by 2019, you're going, damn, this team is skinny. But it took 3 years for you to realize, holy cow, are these guys even going into the gym? So Ferguson's effects will be felt long term, but the one thing he's doing, and this came out of, a number of preseason interviews with players, that he's running them hard. And there was an even funny. I'm sure you saw the line from Emmett Laws.
Yeah.
Where they asked him, so what's Jared Ferguson been doing that's different? And Laws is like, well, he's running us like an MFer, and he said it. By the way, there's a great Emmett Laws story. So this was a media day where our guys were standing around talking to him, and Emmett is a redshirt freshman. You're going to see him play for the first time. He probably played some last year, but I think he was a true freshman and was just garbage time. Defensive tackle who came out of high school. He's the guy who came out of high school. He was getting up at 5 a.m. every day to ride the train to DeMatha to play football, to be a student and play football at DeMatha. He was riding the train an hour each way as a high school kid and working his butt off, so that they really like what he's made of. So anyway, our guys are standing around interviewing him on media day. And Chris Coleman told me later, he's like, so we stand there and we talk to him. He's a great interview. And when we're done talking to him, he hugs us. I'm trying to picture Andy Bitter getting hugged.
That's true. That's true. No.
Oh, man. And David Cunningham doesn't like to be touched, so I'm sure David was like, oh, okay. Chris is probably hugging it out, bro style, So anyway, how'd we get on that tangent?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Don't really know, to be honest with you, but
so we won't know the talent thing until we actually get them out there on the field. There's some guys from lower level programs, and there's a guy named Bayshul Tootin that came from a lower level program, and that worked out pretty well. And a guy named Jalen Lane. So just because they're transferring from smaller schools doesn't mean they can't be great football players, but we won't know, and I think, and here's more brilliant analysis for me. Rick, the key to the season could be Kyron Drones playing well and staying healthy.
Got to stay healthy.
I'm a damn genius.
That was the one thing that several of our guests this week, Bill Roth and Mike Burnham in particular, they were both like, yeah, nothing can happen to Kyron, which means that either they've been told internally there's nobody happy with the quarterback situation behind the main guy. It's basically like reading between the lines. That's college football team, pro football team. Can't lose your starting quarterback. But felt like it was, they took the time to mention it a couple times. So
yeah,
but we know. But you've got great stuff coming up at Tech Sideline.
Yeah. So practice is in full swing. Our coverage is in full swing. I can't believe the game is only two weekends away. Very cool. This is our last weekend without college football, right? And then some teams are playing next weekend.
No. Yeah, I think there's actually some next week, and then full throttle in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah,
well, keep up
the
great work, my friend. You'll be on Fridays going forward. Friday's your day.
Yeah, this works out for me. I hop up. It's actually where this whole setup is really going to benefit me is in the dead of winter when I don't have to scrape ice off the windshield and drive into the studio in 25-degree weather. I just get up at 6
I'll miss the Interceptor though.
Oh yeah, it's sweet. It needs to be inspected.
I'm gonna miss that.
Got to get that taken care of. But I'm looking forward to this. Just get up at 6 o'clock, shower, come downstairs, sit in front of my computer, and I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, same thing for me. I have to dodge deer now every morning, so it's great. It's awesome.
Nice, very nice.
All right, my friend, keep up the great work. Congrats on the new set. I know it looks great. It's going to sound great, and you have a great weekend. Your last weekend without college football.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The off season is a real drag these days because all the stuff going on in college athletics. So bring on the games where we can watch kids actually play and go back to having fun.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Thanks,
Rick.
All right,
man. All right, you take care. Good to see you. There you go. That's Will Stewart from Tech Sideline joining us on the program. Great stuff from him, as always. Be sure to hit us up on the McClellan chat room chiropractic. Well, I guess I got that kind of disjointed. The McClellan chiropractic chat line. Be sure to hit us up there. A lot of people chiming in this morning. Yes, Wayne, I do need a koozie for my Diet Pepsi. So usually when you see me do this with my screen, it means that I'm taking a drink of something or something else you don't need to be seeing on screen. Phil Steele scheduled to join us. They did say that Phil won't have video today because I don't know if he's traveling, but he will have audio, but that's fine. We'll figure it out on our end going forward. I believe he's here with us now. Oh, my goodness. There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, the retired life is good. He's Mr. Highlander. Michael Ashley joined. What's up, M.A.?
I was dressed for the part as a retiree.
Yeah.
Actually, you won't
Were you in
believe
Delaware?
what happened to me.
Huh?
You won't believe
What happened?
here. The power's been out. It just came on about an hour ago. So
See, that's my nightmare with this whole setup here. It's going to happen here.
Well, that never happens. We're right over here by Dominion Power, and we've rarely had problems here. And we're also close to the fire station and the hospital here. So, I've always felt pretty secure. I come home last night and it's completely pitch dark. I had guests. I was begging them to move downstairs because it's too hot upstairs without the air conditioner. I slept in the basement here, and that magical bing happened about where everything rebooted on my home entertainment center at about 5:45 this morning, and I was like, yes. So here we are. It's never easy. First of all, hey, welcome back, Rick. It's so great to have your show. I've told you before, but and your great listenership out there knows this. I never had so many questions about when something was coming back, if it was coming back, or what, as I did about this show. So it's an honor to be a part of this dynasty you've established down there. This beachhead on social media in the New River Valley.
Well, look at us, a couple old heads going into the digital age like we know what we're doing, right? Hey,
my gosh, I can do this, except the technology end of it. As Denny Van Pelt at his RU Baseball podcast will attest, I got 2 strikes against me, couldn't get into the podcast to talk about Phil Leftwich going into the Big South Hall of Fame. And I think Denny's still mad. He's going to bean me next time he sees me.
Well, it's so much going on, and you're officially full-time. You're full-time retired. You're just beach in the sand. I mean, toes in the sand, aren't you?
Yeah, no. This has actually been a tough summer. I've been down to Texas twice. I got my in-laws moved up into our house at the beach, which means we shouldn't all be there all the time together. So I sort of lost some of my beach privileges again this year. Not a complete redshirt year like last year.
Beach privileges,
when the construction was going on, but we finished up. Oh, thanks, guys! In September last year, so I did miss the whole beach season as far as going to our house, and now all the moving and things we get, and this is boring radio, so I'm sorry, or podcast.
No.
I'm not in there full time. And the good news for me is it looks like I'll have another full season here into the spring. And I'm thinking basketball here, that I'll be able to go to my old haunts like Radford and Virginia Tech and some other Big South and state venues to see basketball. And I'm kind of excited about that. Although I'm not actually right now doing any coverage of college basketball. I did just finish up a wonderfully funny preview or two for the Lindy's magazine and Roland Lazenby, who edits that. And that is one of the best sources for your preseason things. I'm not going to say it's one of your best sources for fantasy because I write that and I just be funny. So if you want some funny NBA stuff, I'll get it. In fact, if this gets boring, I'll just start reading excerpts from it. So I had a really good time this year with the NBA. And again, all these years covering college athletics, I don't criticize college athletes, but hey, NBA guys, I'll criticize them.
Well, I mean, with the kind of money that's being thrown around college athletes, you may have to start changing that whole. I agree, but now it's a little different, right? It's a little different
but they're still young punks. Yeah, that's the thing. I didn't want to go cover college athletes as much anymore since they're all making more money than me now.
Yeah, exactly.
That just doesn't seem right.
It's a stinger. It's a stinger. It is. Hey, one thing I mentioned yesterday, I know you want to talk about too. We just lost Coach Lindenberg in Radford. I know you covered high school sports a long time. We've talked about it with Coach Hicks, and you knew all these wonderful, legendary coaches here in the area. Of course, you were Salem guy with Willis White. I mean, when you lose someone like that, and we're still feeling the reverberations of Pulaski County, without Coach Hicks, and now here's Coach Lindenberg passing on. It's a big, just terrible, big chunk of emptiness now.
These men were absolute giants, so many of them. I was late to the Norm Lindenberg party after I moved to Radford and started covering high school football. Again, just to get my fix on Friday nights. That's what a fan I was. I worked all week on other athletics teams at Tech and Radford, but the high school football is special in that area. I got up here to Northern Virginia and it's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
I took my stepdaughter to a game. I guess she was still in elementary school because I just wanted her to get her first feel for it because she'd never done that, and enjoy the color and pageantry and the bands and cheerleaders and all that. And I remember sitting in the stands in Chantilly, Virginia here, Chantilly High School, and after what I was used to with the Salem Sports Foundation and what sports were like covering down in the New River Valley and the Roanoke Valley, and I'm sitting in the stands, and 5 minutes before kickoff, they're asking for people to volunteer to come down and hold the chains on the sideline. And I was like, what? This is Northern Virginia. How can it be like this? But it was.
Right.
But it was different. And I bring up the chains on the sideline because at Radford home games, when I covered at Bobcat Stadium there, I would I loved to be seen by everybody down there on the sidelines like I was a big timer. There were more unofficial coaches at Radford High School than any place I'd ever covered before. One year I counted 17 guys on the sidelines who ostensibly could be called coaches there, including a couple guys whose job it was just to yell at all the other guys to back up and not get them a penalty.
Of course.
And because of that, because there were so many people in the Radford high schools, that's one of the few places like that I went over and covered on the other side where the chains were. And that's always tough as you're down there on the sidelines working, going up and down, trying to stay out of those guys' way. But it was so much easier because there were less people on the sideline to cover from the visitors' side. And then what this meant post-game with Coach Lindenberg was, oh my gosh, you had to get him on the field. You had to run with him towards the locker room area to get him to talk to you, because once he got in the locker room, there was going to be storytelling, singing, and dancing, and they weren't going to get out of there till gosh knows when. And I had deadlines. So, it's like, Coach, can you tell me a little bit about that play in the third quarter there, turn the game, or I had to get him before that because I knew what was going to happen. And I say all this, and it makes it sound like I'm complaining, but my gosh, what a nice man. I have an experience that's just stuck with me forever here. And it's not one of those ones like so many people have in Radford, because how many lives did he and Joanne touch there in Radford through education?
Thousands.
Through what they meant. And I mean, that showed up with, he's the first person to lie in state in the Dedman Center. That was, I thought that was really appropriate, and so glad the family could have that, and the community could have that, because everybody wanted to say goodbye, and I did too, but I got violently ill that week and could not make it, and I will regret that forever, because I would have liked to have been there to share in that communal experience with everyone. But I was coming back from Southwest Virginia one time on a trip, and I was on 66 rolling in, and there's this little place called Linden, Virginia, and I learned to stop there. They have a thing they called, before it meant something else, they called it the Apple Store, because they specialized in apples and apple products and apple pies, and I could get my sugar-free apple pie and bring it home and be really happy for a couple of days. And I would always stop in there and get gas, and that was one of the last pits on the way into Northern Virginia here for me. And I'm on the aisle in the Apple Store, and who do I run into? I run into Norm Linneberg.
In Linden, Virginia.
Yes, and a good chunk of his family there. They had come up for an Orioles game, and were coming back, and he was so happy because he had his whole family with him, and he was, or most of his family, because a lot of them were already coaching yet and started to spread out everywhere and carry that great coaching, teaching legacy. So many, they're all in education or coaching, and that's just another special part of this that the people in Radford know. But he was so genuinely happy to see me, and I was so genuinely happy to see him, and we embraced there, but next to the Twinkies, and it was it's a moment I'm so glad I had with him. I had others, obviously over the years, especially when he started coming to so many Radford events because of Robert's position there, and I got to talk to him, and I found out something later that I did not know, that one of his first assistant coaching jobs was in Salem, my homeland, under the legendary Eddie Joyce, who Eddie Joyce was, it's a mixed legacy later here, because Eddie Joyce was actually, this is how important football was in Salem. Eddie Joyce was mayor of Salem and the football.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I get it.
It was, but he had later in his career used an account he had at CMT to buy sporting goods for the football team. He had picked up some Christmas presents with it, and I don't think he was doing anything malicious. I think it was all going to get paid back, but I remember when the trial was going on and he was being deposed, it was kind of funny because some of the things he picked up were games for his kids, including the game Trouble and Sorry. And, that
Sorry.
that comes out in testimony. But it made sense to me after Coach Linneberg told me he'd worked under Eddie Joyce, because I started to recognize things that I'd seen earlier, because Eddie Joyce was so far ahead. Anybody that saw the movie Remember the Titans, which is a mixed bag for me, because that was so ridiculous. First of all, the school that was coached by Ed Henry, the coaching genius there, which represented Eddie Joyce, which was wearing our colors from Andrew Lewis, was called Marshall High School, and there was another Marshall, and actually led late in the game until the double reverse on the last play beat him. Boy, somebody that actually knows football will write the end of this movie, okay? Jeez, it was terrible. Actually, Lewis lost that game like 20-6, I believe. And what everybody in Salem remembers most of Victory Stadium was T.C. Williams taking the field with like 80 guys dressed out, marching, running out around the edge of the field. And Andrew Lewis had maybe 40, and maybe 3 guys that weighed over 200 pounds.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really like it was in the movie. But anyway, the things Eddie Joyce did offensively, though, I saw some of that in what the Bobcats are doing, because they were always kind of pass happy for a district that also had a team that ran the single wing. So,
right,
and boy,
right.
I was such a snob about that when I got up there and was covering games. I was like, okay, I don't want to cover games anymore, but let me go back down to Salem, where I know Northside and Cave Spring and Patrick Henry. I've seen all these teams play for years, and I want to see those teams. And man, did I come to love New River Valley football, that single wing, that having to get ready for that once a year to play, and the things Coach Linneberg was doing, and Christiansburg. I always thought they had a little bit of inherent toughness there because they got overshadowed by Radford and Blacksburg all the time. So when they reared up and had a really good team, that seemed like a fun thing too. But Yeah, but Coach Lindenberg was just so great. He was so great to me. I lived so close to him up there in near Sunset Village, where I should be now. This sounds like a retirement home. But anyway, yeah, I just
Sunset Village with Mike Nelson.
Coach Lindenberg. I just rest in peace, pal, and thanks for everything.
Three Rings Football says Coach Lindenberg gave him his first scouting gig for a few games, which helped him kickstart his career. Yeah, I mean, he was always looking out. He was one of my biggest proponents of my career, working with him for 8 years. I mean, he was just terrific. Yeah. But when you look at that in the legacy, you don't get to choose your own legacy. Your legacy stands alone. And boy, oh boy, all these coaches you just mentioned went down your way, Mike. But here, I talked about it yesterday. The different legacies that are mounting, that are always going to be there for generations. It just shows you, and I think we have some great coaches today, but it just shows you how fortunate we were, right, to come up during that era that we did with these high school football coaches.
Yeah, it's because of you and because of this show, and because I guess people have heard me talk about my fondness for local football. On Facebook the other day, I saw something about Joel Hicks. Just the other day. It's incredible. And Joel Hicks was from an area of West Virginia where my family had once lived and worked. So I always thought that Yeager up there were a lot of coaches out of that area. It's unbelievable. Ralph Barrier is here in my house too. Also covered high school football back when I did, and was a writer at the Roanoke Times, and now is doing for Cardinal News and a lot of freelance work in Roanoke, Virginia. And boy, do you have to be good to be making a living as a freelance writer in Roanoke, Virginia. So I'll say that about Ralph. But yeah, we get together and start telling these old stories. I was telling about my first time covering a game at Narrows. There wasn't a phone in the press box, so after the game, I had to drive down. I went to that little convenience store there near the stadium, and I had the old Tandy 200 with the couplers on it, and I had to get on the payphone, put my computer on, finish my story on top of a trash can, and connect to that phone and send from there. Stories like that. There's some horror stories. Ralph was telling me about the time he got locked in Rustburg High School covering something there. He got locked in, but he got locked out from the office where his computer was, and there was nobody else in the school. He had to go out into the hallway, and he knew an assistant coach and called that person to come open up and let him back into another place there to finish his story. We've all got those kind of stories. I didn't realize how much I'd missed that stuff. That and getting together afterwards. If you finished your story early, and you had to, because they're deadlines. You got to get them. At that time, when I was working, the Roanoke Times had 3 issues. They had an early one that went up back to Martinsville, the Bulldog they called it, and you had to.
Yeah, I remember that.
You had to have your stories in. There were games where my story was due 10 minutes after the final play. So, you're writing during the game there on the sidelines. It was crazy. And then there's another issue that went to the Newer Valley. That was the second deadline, and you could get that one in. What was cool about that was we always got someplace, a local watering hole, to watch Friday football extra and to look at the games we'd been covering. And that was good times. There's about 5 or 6 of us that would gather and do that.
Yeah, and that's something else too. What Mike Stevens created with that was just a phenomenon all to itself. I'm going to try to get Mike on here pretty soon as we get closer to high school football season. But Travis Wells continued it. I think Jermaine Farrell's got that same spirit at WFXR right now.
Definitely.
But it's just what that did, and what I remember. That's back when I was even playing in high school, and you couldn't wait to get home just to see the highlights of the other games. You'd be tired, you'd be needing a shower and all, but you wanted to get home and see it. And the phenomenon and the recognition that Mike Stevens had, and Roy Stanley and that whole crew, and you knew Roy very well, I know. I mean, it's just those things, when you look back on their creation, you could never recreate something that had that kind of effect again, to be honest with you.
I always told Roy Stanley I was amazed he could do the weekend broadcast there, because how did he do that and coach the Minnesota Vikings? Because he looked just like
he did look like Denny Green. He did.
And he would laugh at me, and the whole thing. I'll tell you one. I think it was 1972. I know Patrick Henry. They had of course, Radford had a great team then too, as I remember. But also down in Roanoke, I think the undefeated Patrick Henry team, Merrill Gaynor, the head coach. Remember that name? Where Willis White was an assistant.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
And because you saw those guys on TV so much, one night I was at a Andrew Lewis game. They were hanging out on the sideline. Well, I sat on the hill. That's so we could ball up the cup and go behind and play football with the little cup behind the bleachers when we needed to. And but I was standing there as all these guys came rolling down the hill in the purple and gold jackets. And I look over and it's like it was Merrill Gaynor. And for me, it was like being on the Hollywood Walk or something, like this famous guy was walking right by me. And I was like, oh my God, it's Merrill Gaynor, and all assistant coaches. And then, who was the Channel 7 guy then, the older guy, the gentleman? Oh boy, I'm losing it now. I can't remember his name, but that was a big
Pat Kruger.
Huh?
Pat Kruger.
Oh, he was a young guy. It was before Pat Kruger. It'll come to me in a few years, and I'll remember to tell everybody. But yeah, it was Dexter Mills. How about that name? Dexter
Mills. Okay.
Do you remember?
Yeah,
him?
Dexter Mills. Yeah,
he was there. That was another big one. Seeing him. So I mean, those guys were there was a big game coming up between Lewis and Patrick Henry, which were big rivals at the time. Even though their school was much larger than ours, but they went undefeated, and their toughest game of the year was a 10-0 win over Lewis. And we had a guy drop a sure touchdown pass that probably meant we would have lost 10-7, but that would have been better. But it was just a hard hitting, great high school football game. I'll never forget that. And that Ricky Harmon played on that Patrick Henry team that I think played at Virginia Tech after that. And they went undefeated. And I don't think they didn't allow more than 20 points all year or something. It was incredible, their defense.
Well, it's I don't know. You could talk about this stuff all the time and never get tired of hearing the stories and the athletes that came through here and what it means. And you're right. It's totally different this end of the state, even further down below us toward the state line where I'm on today to take my son to college. I mean, it's huge. And up that way, it kind of has its own different vibe, and it's not a good vibe in a lot of ways. Sometimes in some places it is, but your great programs, there were a lot of them in that area. T.C. Williams, you mentioned, of course, Hampton, the Crabbers, and the legacy that they had carved out and all those teams. But it's down here, it just seems to mean more to the communities. We don't have pro sports nearby here, right? So it makes a difference, things like that.
Right. And I was coming of age, junior high school, and Virginia Tech wasn't very good. They didn't establish a bigger profile again until Coach Dooley got there and started beating William & Mary and VMI every year. And the high school sports just always was so much more important. It was so far away from pro sports there in Roanoke. I mean, I used to spend a lot of time thinking about this stuff. And look, I didn't mean you got guys on the show that can talk some football. You have Will and Phil. I mean, you got some big time guys here. I think I billed myself on this show as a carnival barker here. I was supposed to come in funny this morning
and pundit. I like that.
So yeah. Let me transition into some of that. Okay.
This is what I had you down as. I had you as the retired afternoon ball sharpshooter because you were.
I haven't shot a basketball in so long. I'm embarrassed. I don't want to go out and see what that's like right now. My arms got kind of flabby, so I don't know if we've got the.
No, you still got it. You still got it.
I do love basketball. It's hard to explain to people, but I'm concerned about baseball. I did. Please don't tell the Radford people because tonight is Radford night at the ballpark. But I went last night, and one of the big reasons was because I had this crappy cup that they served the ice cream in when I went to one of the first games here, the old school. I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's really
last
bad.
night I finally replaced it with an upgrade to put in my collection.
Okay, good.
And
they need to be bigger.
Some-year-old guys are collecting the cups of ice cream to have the helmets. My wife is so proud.
Well, no, she should be.
I was concerned, because they just had a female umpire. And I was thinking what happened at the major league offices was there was somebody there, some nerd in a suit back in the back came running up to the front and going, "Hey, we're going to have computerized balls and strikes soon, aren't we? With robots, we that's not going to look good if we don't hire a woman now to do that first, to beat that there. And I was, I don't mean that because I read about this Jenny Powell, was it? But anyway, her credentials are impeccable. She's obviously done a great job to get here, and she's doing a good job so far in the major leagues. But I just wonder what that's like for players now, because if they're like me, you really don't win many arguments with women. So that's another part of the game that's going to be different. And I'm wondering if, the end of the debate is always like it is with me. Yes, dear.
Well, it could be.
It's really changing some dynamics in baseball.
Hey, she can't be any worse than her male peers that have been just destroying that profession, but calling balls and strikes. I mean, I think umpiring as a whole
could you please wait till basketball season to start crucifying the refs again?
It's just the strike zones. The strike zones are so bad, just so bad.
Yeah, and that's true. I'm also worried about Travis Kelce. He has not studied, because the release of a new album does not signal happiness for most Taylor Swift boyfriends. It's maybe the equivalent of getting the visit from the Turk. Hey,
having a new album about
Travis, come over and bring your playbook.
Yeah, honey.
Bring your songbook.
Bring your songbook. Yeah, I'm not sure where all that is. I just I can't fathom having to put up with that again, but we're going to have to. It's going to happen.
Hey, I just celebrated. So I did celebrate my 28th anniversary, the biggest upset in sports history, that I got married and left my sports job down there. Came up here 28 years. We were actually, this is so terrible because I couldn't make Coach Lindenberg's memorial, but there was a family memorial on the other side of the family. So we went down last week to go to Charlotte to go to a funeral. And on the way, we were able to book in to Mountain Lake, the site of my nuptials there. And so we were at Mountain Lake, and I was up there having a blast all weekend and channeling my inner Patrick Swayze. And I walked by a mirror at one point, and boy, was he pissed. Okay, I'm so boring. Rick has left the studio here or something. So, yeah, I needed to have a longer story for that segment, I guess, huh?
No, you're good. You're good to go. Had a couple of video issues there, so.
Okay, well, one more. They federalized police operations here in the district, and I'm very concerned because so far there's been no movement on the Wizards or the Nationals and the crimes they've perpetrated on local fans now in recent years.
Well, what do you, I mean, you're not covering it anymore, but how are you now coming to grips with college football and what it's become and what we have to deal with the money and so forth? Are you trying to convince yourself you can just go into it now as a fan and enjoy it? And that's what we have to do.
I just hate that all the discussions turn to this now. What coach was it that I just saw a quote that he said, it's terrible to think that all the programs with the best booster organization is going to win the national championship every year, right? And I just hate that it all turns to that. We're not talking about the product on the field, which is what we all love. We're talking about what's going on off the field and what's going to happen legislatively and. One thing fascinated me. I saw Texas ranked number 1, and that's the first time that's ever happened. Could you believe that? It didn't seem right to
really?
me. Yeah, I read it on the internet, so it's got to be true. Actually, I read it in the news.
That's got to be true. That can't be right. Really?
Yeah, wow. Yeah. And the other nugget I picked up there's only one team out of what I guess you would call the Power 4 now, and all the schools involved in that has never been ranked in the preseason. One school never ranked in the preseason.
Of all the Power 4s that have never been ranked.
Yeah, there's only one nationally.
That's never been ranked in the preseason.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. I would have no idea.
Well, it'll make sense to you when I tell you, and I'm going to do it right now. Vanderbilt.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. When would they ever have been picked in the preseason?
Well, you're right.
On the other hand, Texas, I'm just amazed that those, the Fred Akers teams, the Darrell Royal, and the whole thing down there. It's amazing to me that they have Mac Brown.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like bringing the big knowledge today. Had no idea about that. No idea.
Well, I hope that's right. Phil Steele probably come on and info slam on me or something.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Trying to hook up with Phil now. He's going to be on audio only. He has a camera issue, so we're trying to figure all that out. But
you didn't let me have that option.
No, we want to see you. I knew you would have the right decor.
I got home last night and it's pitch dark. I can't see anything, and I found these glasses with my flashlight when I was looking around. They fell under the couch, and they've been. Who knows? Last time I wore these, so these are the ones I could find, and I'm thrilled about it. I tried to get my sports background in here. I told you we're going to do this one week when I have no material. We're going to do a tour of the Bat Cave here, and you get to see all my sports memorabilia. And here's some silly.
Yes, we would love that. And
we're not going to do that. I'll save that for a special occasion when I'm hungover and have no material.
Which is like every other Tuesday. But anyway.
Yes, pretty much. I do, when I'm in Delaware, I do live 2 blocks from the Dogfish Head Brewery.
Oh,
and they know me by name over there already. So, yeah.
I understand.
Hey, Lennon and McCartney said all you need is a pint a day. So, yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, I got to fix mine. Mine's kind of boring, but, it is what it is. You just go where you have to go, right? And that's where we are. You broadcast where it works out logistically, and that's what I'm doing.
Well, right. I am on a stack of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books, 7 sports books right here to get me at this level, so you're not looking at my turkey chin down here. And the lighting is always a problem.
Yeah, mine is too.
And I worked on that for a few minutes once the lights came back on, mind you. And this seems to be okay here.
No, you look great.
I feel guilty because every other fat guy has lost all their weight because of all these drugs. Well, I can't call them, Wegovy and Jardiance. I could do the Jardiance dance. And I was on a Ozempic for a brief, horrible time.
Yeah, it's not healthy. Yeah,
it tore my stomach up, and there were side effects that I could not live with. And I told my doctor I wasn't doing it anymore. So I said, I'll just be fat and jolly because it's always kind of worked for me. So.
Fat and jolly.
Yeah. So, and people know me; they see me coming.
People know you. Well, Michael, listen, enjoy.
Hey, one more. Somebody asked me the other day, they were talking about how fast I shower. And I said, well, when I get in the shower, no water misses me.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. You're in it, baby. In and out. That's all right. Listen, you have a great weekend, man, and we appreciate you as always.
So good being back there.
Yep.
Goober says, hey.
Hey to Goober. Stay safe, brother.
See ya.
All right, great stuff from Mike Ashley as always. As we segue into our final half hour, we now invite in our final guest of the morning. And I don't know how many accolades I can throw at you, even more so. But joining us now is Phil Steele. He is the publisher of the 2025 Phil Steele College Football Preview Magazine. Phil, how are you, man? It's great to talk to you once again.
Hey, always great talking to you, Rick. How the heck are you this morning?
Doing great, man. Doing great. People have been looking so forward to hearing from you. And congratulations on keeping this thing going, man. This magazine is the best of its kind in this country, in the world. And I know it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger because you start literally the day after, don't you? The season ends from the previous year.
Yeah, the day after Thanksgiving, actually, when some team's season ends. So we spent 7 months putting this thing together. It's up to 360 pages this year. 2 full pages on all 136 teams. It's like getting 136 media guides rolled into one.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Well, in this area, of course, we talked the ACC. Picked up my copy. There you go. Ready to go with the ACC cover. Let's get into the conference a little bit. Clemson is just getting so much love in the top 5 nationally. What is it about the Clemson Tigers? What is it about what Dabo Swinney did with his mindset, players, and so forth that has Clemson being talked about like they did when they were contending for national championship.
Yeah, and I think Clemson is a legitimate national title contender this year, Rick. When I look at this team, first of all, they're a homegrown team. What I mean by that, I did a blog on philsteele.com earlier this week, and it's talks about how teams have bring in freshmen and now they're seniors. You know, they develop them. I think you get a team atmosphere when you do that, and Clemson's all about that. Very few transfers, but they did use the portal. They brought in Will Held to help the pass rush at defensive end, Jeremiah Alexander from Alabama at linebacker, and then Tristan Smith coming in from Southeast Missouri State. But you go back 2 years ago, Clemson's wide receiver core was all banged up. They were missing their top 3 receivers at the start of the year. Cade Klubnik had 19 touchdowns, just 9 interceptions. Last year, he got his injured players back. They added some super true frosh. And all of a sudden, Cade Klubnik, 36 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Well, this year he's operating behind my number 2 rated offensive line, my number 2 set of receivers. I like to pick up a Gideon Davidson, my number 3 rated running back out of high school, to go along with the converted wide receiver Adam Randall and Jay Haynes. Defensively, last year they gave up 374 yards per game. That's unusual for Clemson, but you look at the talent. They have so many NFL guys, Peter Woods, TJ Parker, Sammy Brown, Avion Terrell, Barnes, and now they bring in a new defensive coordinator in Tom Allen, who's one of the best in the country. He'll get the most out of that defense. Then you factor in the schedule. I actually have them favored in all 12 games this year. So I am bullish on Clemson. I've got them number 2 in the country and playing in the national title game.
Oh, playing in the national title game, peeps. Keep an eye on the Tigers. Hey, we're here in the backyard of Blacksburg, and this is a pivotal year, obviously, year 4 for Brent Pry. On one end, you know, you have Virginia Tech, I think, 9th in the league. But your list, which I've been talking about all morning, Phil, they're listed amongst your most improved teams here coming into 2025.
Yeah, and, you know, last year I think was disappointing. Virginia Tech came in one of the most experienced teams in the country, had high expectations into the year. It all started to go south with that Vanderbilt game right off the bat, a surprising upset. We later learned who Diego Pavia was and how good he was, but a disappointing 6-7 season last year. Now this year, I like the fact that they've got Kyron Drones back at the quarterback spot. I think that's big. If he stays healthy all year, it's a big plus. You look at the receiving core. Donovan Green, when he was at Wake Forest a few years back, Dave Clawson thought he could be one of their best wide receivers ever. I think Donovan Green could step in and have a huge year this year. They've got Aiden Green. They've got Cam Selden, who they add in from Tennessee. And tight end is solid with Benji Gosnell. You look at him up front on the offensive line, I think Thomas Remack is an NFL prospect there. And defensively, they've got a new defensive coordinator coming in. They do have enough talent. I think Ben Bell is going to make an impact coming in from Texas State. So I'm looking for a better year for Virginia Tech, definitely this season after disappointing last year. I think this year they have a better season overall. The only games I've got them a true underdog this year are at NC State, at Georgia Tech, and at Florida State, but none of those a large underdog. Once again, a very manageable schedule. I only rated number 55. I think VT could surprise some folks this year. Are you there, Rick?
There we are. Yeah, we lost connection there for a second, but we're back and ready to go, man. Sorry about that little blip there, but you were talking about the Hokies, obviously.
Yeah, where was I on Virginia Tech?
Talking about last year and so forth and what you had them coming back, and here they are this year, one of your most improved teams.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Tech this year and you look at the schedule, it's a very manageable schedule. You know, South Carolina and the opener is going to be tough, but home against Vanderbilt, Old Dominion, Wofford, Wake Forest, they have a lot of winnable games on the schedule. My most improved list are teams that had a losing record last year that I expect to be bowling this year, and I think VT is going to have a surprisingly good year.
Well, when you mention your history with the most improved teams, I mean, each and every year these teams hit. And you have some other ACC teams in there. It's interesting. Florida State, I think, number 1 on that list of most improved squads.
Yeah, and my number 1 most improved team, I'm trying to get the team that has the biggest improvement record-wise, and Florida State definitely has that capability coming off a 2-loss season. You know, earlier, Rick, I talked about homegrown teams. I think that might have been Florida State's problem last year, where they relied on the transfer portal in 22 and 23, and Mike Norvell hit a lot of home runs there, and they had 10-3, 13-1. Last year, relying on the portal, all of a sudden things started to go bad, a slow start to the season. And when that happened, they didn't have that team unity to hang on. I think they need to have early success to build into the team atmosphere. And I think they've got that opportunity this year. I expect them to lose their opener against Bama, but then East Texas A&M, Kent State, at Virginia, all very winnable games. I think you'll see Florida State have a much better record this year. I think Thomas Castellanos, who didn't do well at Boston College, but he wasn't a good fit for that system. He is a good fit for this system. How good of a fit? Look at the fact that Gus Malzahn recruited him and signed him at UCF originally. That's right. And now Gus Malzahn's his offensive coordinator. Ton of talented transfers coming in. Schedule's pretty manageable. In fact, once they get past that Miami of Florida game, October the 4th, they could be favored in a lot of games down the stretch. So I think they're going to have a huge increase record-wise, probably go from 2 to maybe 8, maybe even 9 wins this year.
Phil Steele joining us on the program, publisher of the Phil Steele College Football Preview Magazine. If you haven't gone out and buy it, do so today. It's all you're going to need to navigate through the college football season. I got to ask you about Virginia. I know we have a lot of Cavalier fans. Year 4, same scenario really, Phil, with Brent Pry, right? Year 4, what's going on with Tony Elliott? Cavaliers, they've really been down and out. How do you see them shaping up so far, at least going into the season?
Well, this is clearly the best team he's put on the field. They are number 8 on my experience chart, so one of the most experienced teams in the country. And, remember his first year and his second year, his offensive line, he had hardly anybody back. It was, and the offensive line really struggled those first 2 years, just 17, 23 points per game. Even last year, just 23 points per game. But this year, he's got a veteran offensive line, which I think is going to be a big plus. Chandler Morris coming in from North Texas is another big plus there. And then you look at the receiving core. They bring in Cameron Ross from James Madison. Trell Harris, I think, is ready to emerge this year. And same thing with Edron at the wide receiver position. Defensively, it's an experienced unit and should be the best that he's had coming back. Should get off to a good start this season. There are numerous games that are going to be an underdog. They probably have to pull an upset to finally get to that bowl game. But this is clearly the best team Tony Elliott has put on the field, and I think they do get to a bowl this year.
One of the questions I always like to ask you, who are 2 or 3 of the teams that are dark horses that could sneak into this thing that maybe a lot of people aren't thinking about right now if you've done your research?
Yeah, and that's in the ACC we're talking about?
Well, ACC, nationally, wherever it might be.
Oh, okay. Well, nationally, the one team that nobody's really talking about that I think has actually got a shot from going from a losing season to making a playoff is Oklahoma. And earlier I talked about the difference Cade Klubnik had with a solid receiving core. Well, the same thing with Oklahoma. Last year, at one point, they were down their top 5 receivers due to injury. They also had 0 returning starters on the offensive line. This year, they've got a veteran offensive line. Bill Bedenbaugh, one of the best offensive line coaches out there. The receiving core, they get those injured players back, plus they've got the additions. You look at running back, they bring in Jaden Ott, who was the top running back in the Pac-12 2 years ago. They bring in John Mateer, QB, who led Washington State to some big games and is a dangerous runner and passer. Plus, he knows the offense because they bring a Washington State's offensive coordinator in Ben Arbuckle. Offense was their problem last year. Defense was not. They held opponents to 87 yards per game, below their average, number 6 in the country. They have an outstanding defense again with 8 starters back. And then the schedule. Last year, Oklahoma only had 3 SEC home games. This year, they only have 3 true SEC road games. So while the schedule's still tough, it's more manageable. I think you've got Oklahoma 6-7 last year as a chance of actually getting to the playoffs this year.
Each and every year, I think for 30 years running now, your magazine, amongst all the others that are released, is the most accurate. Can you talk about that record and how consistent you have been, whether you're predicting a national championship game, semifinal, whatever it might be, conference champions, how consistently really accurate you have been?
Yeah, and, Rick, it's all I work on is college football. I don't even follow
I know.
I don't even follow the NFL. I don't follow baseball. I don't follow basketball. I'm just honed in on college football. I try to talk to 136 coaches each year, but logistics makes that almost impossible, especially now with the portal being so late. I had to try to cram in 136 calls basically in a month of May. It dragged into June even this year. I got to, I think, 126, but I think going over the teams with the head coaches is huge for me. I spend about an hour on the phone with each one, going over every player, every position on the roster. And the accuracy thing comes, there's a independent site that says, if you pick a team third in the conference and they finish first, you're 2 points off. So much like golf, low score wins. Right. And we traditionally have the low score every year. And but I should, because that's all I work on is college football. I know everybody else has a lot of other interests. For me, it's just college football.
Well, and with everything going on outside of the sport, though, once you get into it and you're breaking down all these rosters, Phil, and talking to these coaches, I mean, it's still the same thing for you, isn't it? I mean, it's just about personnel. Doesn't matter how they got them, what they did to get them. It's all about what you have lining up, what you have coming back, and kind of the historical track record that I know you rely on.
Yeah, and it is important. And the transfer portal, I used to be able to go to the press in May, because once the rosters are done, you're all set. But now at that portal ending at the end of April, we have to move it back into June, which is where we go to the press. But yeah, with the rosters, you have to look at the talent. You have to see when these players came in too. That's another thing to look at is if they come in post spring, I wonder how quickly they can get acclimated with just the fall to work on it. Whereas if they come in pre-spring, that's a big advantage. And the other thing I've noticed, Rick, going through all these rosters, something to really pay attention to is that the FCS transfers moving up seem to have a higher hit rate or success rate than as long as they have the experience level and have played, because they're happy to be there. They love the training table, the weight room. They were probably under-recruited out of high school, but grew those next couple of years. And if they have the experience level, they contribute right away. Meanwhile, the P2 teams that are P2 players that come down that haven't played, they have a much higher miss rate. So, watch out for these FCS players moving up. They generally have great success.
Phil Steele joining us on the program. Heck, he has every year. We've had this program here for the last 15 years now, year number 1 here on YouTube. And it's the 2025 College Football Preview Magazine. Phil, a couple more things I want to ask you about because I'm getting questions. We are kind of really close to the mountains here in West Virginia. There's a lot of West Virginia alums here in the area and fans. They're asking me about, can you please ask Phil about the Mountaineers and their prospects here in the Big 12 coming up in 2025?
Yeah, to me, this looks like a rebuilding year for West Virginia for 2 reasons. Number one, I just talked about the amount of transfers coming in post-spring. I think they had 25, 26 kids come in after spring practice was over. Now they're going to have to try to get them all acclimated and together as a team by the fall. Rich Rodriguez is going to do a great job there. He did a tremendous job at Jacksonville State. He did a great job at West Virginia. He's got the quarterbacks with Nico Miracle and Jalen Henderson. But look at that schedule this year. They're going to be an underdog at Kansas, home against Utah. Utah's one of the best teams in the Big 12 this year. At BYU, they'll be a dog. At UCF, that's a winnable game. Scott Frost brought in a lot of new players as well. TCU at home. TCU is one of the top teams in the Big 12. At Houston, it's year 2 for Willie Fritz. That gives him a step up on West Virginia. Colorado at home, I think that's winnable for West Virginia. At Arizona State, and then the best team money can buy in the Big 12, Texas Tech. They are loaded with transfer players there that came in, and on top of being the number 5 most experienced team and being year 4 or 5 for their head coach. So when you look at the schedule, there's very few wins in conference play in the schedule. I think they finished towards the bottom of the Big 12 this year, but Rich Rod's going to get this thing turned around quickly.
Mentioned too, but Colorado and Deion Sanders. That's a very interesting thing to me too. There'll be a lot of eyes on what's going on with Deion in Colorado, with obviously with Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter no longer there.
Yeah, they lose a lot of the big names from last year, and it will be interesting to see this team. And once again, they relied on the transfer portal. Yeah. I thought last year they probably exceeded because, I mean, they had Travis Hunter and they had Shedeur Sanders, and they had a whole bunch of big name guys. The majority of them are gone. I think Colorado takes a step back this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. And finally, there's a lot of Big Ten questions coming in. Is there a dark horse there from Big Ten? Every year it's Ohio State. Everybody talks about Michigan. What other squads are you seeing that could take a real step up this year and be a contender?
Yeah, I think one team that's not really a dark horse is Illinois. Illinois last year finished 10-3 and number 16 in the country. And of the top 16 teams, they're the most experienced coming back. They're number 3 on my experience chart. Luke Altmaier made great strides last year. Brett Bielema has an offensive line. Brett Bielema knows offensive lines for starters.
Yeah.
He's got 5 guys back that started the last half of the season. He feels all 5 guys could end up in NFL camps. Defensively, they've got Akis and Thompson up front, Xavier Scott and Torrey Cox at corner. Illinois is a primetime contender to make the playoff this year. But to me, that's not a dark horse because they were 10-3 last year, for crying out loud, and have a very experienced squad. I think if you're looking for a true dark horse, watch out for Nebraska. Matt Rule finally got him to a bowl game last year. They got to the 5 wins again. That's been a problem for Nebraska the last few years. They get to 5 wins and don't win a game the rest of the year and miss out on a bowl. Well, last year they finally got to a bowl and finally finished 7-6. But Dominic Raiola, their quarterback, was a true freshman last year. He's now a sophomore. I think he'll be one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten. He showed he looked like a freshman at times last year. Also got banged up in the second half of the season. When you look at the players that they have, Emmett Johnson, once Dana Holgerson took over as the offensive coordinator, Emmett Johnson rushed for 528 yards the last 4 games. So I'm happy with the running back position. They're solid at tight end. Offensive line looks good. Biggest question mark I have is at the defensive tackle spots. They lose Nash Huntmaker and Ty Robinson, those 2 NFL caliber tackles. But I think Matt Rule, in his 3rd year, when he was at Temple, got to 10 wins. When he was at Baylor, got to 10 wins. And when you look at the schedule this year, they could get to 10 wins. They don't play Ohio State. They don't play Oregon. They don't play Illinois. They don't play Indiana. Right. So they miss a lot of the big boys in the Big Ten. They get Michigan at home. They get USC at home, which is huge. I could see this Nebraska team getting to 10 wins and potentially making a playoff this year, despite the fact they haven't topped 7 wins in a season since 2016.
One more team to ask you about. Can Kurt Signetti do it again at Indiana? Can he follow up the success from last year, in your opinion?
I think they're going to be really good. In fact, going over the roster with Coach Signetti, you look at the losses they had from last year, losing a player like their quarterback in Curtis Rourke, losing their top 2 running backs like they did. You're thinking, okay, they're going to take a step back. But I actually feel this year's team's more talented than last year's squad. They've got Fernando Mendoza at the quarterback. Mendoza really impressed me at Cal last year. He had 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and he can hurt you with his legs as well. They bring in Roman Hemby from Maryland at running back, and I think he was probably underutilized at Maryland, will be utilized here. Offensive line solid. They got 3 starters back. Receiving core, their top 2 guys are back in Elijah Sarrett and Omar Cooper. Plus, they add in a tight end and Holden Stays. And then defensively, they've got a star at all 3 levels. We're talking about Mikael Kamara at the defensive end spot, Aiden Fisher at linebacker, D'Angelo Pons at cornerback. These guys are all Big Ten caliber dudes. Now, the difference for Indiana this year is the schedule. Last year, they played 1 team with the winning record on the road. This year, they play Iowa, Oregon, and Penn State all on the road. Now, that's not saying they're going to lose all 3 of those games, but it is a tougher schedule. I say if they get past Iowa, they got a real good shot of getting back to the playoff this year.
Well, Phil, listen, as a college football fan, all I can say is thank you. I think I speak on behalf of all of our listeners and watchers and viewers here. What you've created has become a runaway train. And there's a lot of things you want to let people know about you're doing really along with the magazine that can really help them out.
Well, I appreciate that, Rick. Yeah, if you're out looking for the magazine, as I mentioned, it's 360 pages, like getting 136 media guides rolled into one, 2 full pages on every single team. And we give you the same amount of coverage on a team like Delaware that we do on Ohio State or Alabama. But it's only available at Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. So if you're looking at the brick and mortar stores, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and then you can also get it at philsteele.com. And at philsteele.com, when you purchase the hard copy, we're going to charge you a shipping charge. Heck, it costs like $10 to ship these things. However, we give you the digital version absolutely free, and the digital version is updated all the way through September. We also have a digital version for the FCS, 2 full pages on every FCS team. And then we have an NFL digital magazine with 4 full pages on each NFL team. So if you want more information, go to philsteele.com. But as mentioned, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million are the only 2 places you can find the magazine this year.
Oh, well, that's awesome stuff, man. And as always, Phil, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I know you're busy. You do about, 300 shows a year, right, in preparation for this?
Right, about 300. And, Rick, I appreciate you having me on each year. I always enjoy our conversations, buddy.
No, it's great, brother. Thanks for joining us here on the new format. We appreciate it. We went digital. We're trying to become modernized here on the show.
There you go. There you go.
Well, Phil,
congratulations, Rick. I think it's taken off for you.
Yeah, it really is. Thank you so much, my friend. Take care. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks, Rick.
All right. There you go. That's Phil Steele, folks. And just go check it out, man. That's what I'm telling you. This magazine is it's what as college football fans, I think if we have all the other things that we're concerned about with college football and the way things are in collegiate sports, the mag kind of brings things back home to our fanship and what we are, right? And then we just kind of segue back into the things that we love. So it was great to hear from Phil, and he's just the best, the absolute best. Once again, we want to thank Family Fencing for sponsoring our studio here, the Family Fencing Studios. They have a no-dig insulation system, and their fences are beautiful, and they come with no holes, no mess, no damage to your lawn. They're locally owned fence experts here in the NRV in Southwest Virginia, specializing in aluminum, specializing in vinyl, chain link, residential, commercial, agricultural. They have finance options. Get a free quote today. Family Fencing, 540-200-8294, familyfencingnrv.com. Family Fencing, building better fences, no digging required. So thank you so much, Family Fencing, for being the title sponsor of our studios here. And it was fun. That was fun. Getting a lot of comments. Text line was blowing up. Oh, by the way, I don't want to forget here. I had a special request on the text line. Sharon, happy birthday, Sharon. She's watched every show this week. I was told she turned 69 today. So Sharon, happy birthday. And here's wishing you many, many more, and appreciate you so much spending time out of your day with us here on the program. It means a lot. And so happy birthday. Have a great one. Come take you out and get you some good food. But then go get this. You just heard Phil. By the way, are you not blown away? And I say this every year. I threw how many different teams at him out of the blue. He knew I was going to talk about the ACC, and he knew I was going to talk about Virginia Tech. I throw out West Virginia. I throw out his most improved team. He's not going through the magazine. Why? He doesn't bring up Indiana. He goes right into Indiana like it just blows my mind. It blows my mind how good he is. But it's the best thing on the market. The only thing you need to spend your money on if you're going to get one of these. And it's great reading. It's great to have. It's a great companion. It helps me out here on the show. It's got everything you ever want in a preview mag. So it's crazy. It's crazy. Sharon, you're getting happy birthday from Wayne in the chat, by the way, our McClellan Chiropractic chat line. So good stuff here today. We want to thank, I got a little time here, but we want to thank Will Stewart from Tech Sideline. Check out their podcast with their brand new set, Mike Ashley, and definitely Phil Steele from the Phil Steele College Football Magazine. We have big sponsor announcements here on Monday. Looking forward to that. Tuesday will be we'll have to make an adjustment. Next Tuesday, the 19th, there's an all-staff mandatory presidential meeting down at Radford. So we'll only have about an hour of the show next Tuesday, but we'll talk more about that on Monday. So we'll adjust accordingly. Don't forget, a hat down, T-shirts, heavy requests for those. So I'm going to be working on that as well going forward. And let me know if there is a desire for you to be added. I can add you in to the show if you want to chat like we used to do phone calls. All right. No, Wayne, we're not going to. We don't want Sharon to have a bad birthday. Well, she might like Panera, though. Not as much as you do, Wayne. But she may like Panera, actually. She may. But a great first week. And again, we want to thank Family Fencing, and we want to thank McClellan Chiropractic. And thank you. This has been an experience this week, getting this show ready. Like I said, we're nearing 2,500 unique views through the first 5 shows. We need to keep growing it, and it needs to grow and grow and grow and grow. And these shows are right there populated. If you subscribe to the channel, just go to Big Dog Sports Talk with Rick Watson. And anything that you missed, you just go back and you watch anytime you want. And that's what's great. And all that counts. It doesn't have to be live. And also, anytime that you do that, please like and subscribe. All right. Just jump in. There you go. Like and subscribe. Because it's very important. They keep up with the algorithm, and that's the kind of thing that they ask for. So I need you to please do that. Tell your friends, tell family, tell people who, even if they don't watch the show all the time and listen to the show, at least it's there. But appreciate everybody, all the folks who jumped in on the chat room. I mean, and all of our guests this week. I can't imagine having a better array of guests. You know, we had 15 guests this week. That's a lot, but that's the kind of valued entertainment I think you deserve as sports fans here in the NRV. We're going to be doing other things, offshoot shows with the channel. The channel is going to have a lot of content as we continue to build this thing, but it's been a lot of fun. It's good to be back. You forget how much you miss just talking. The camera part aside, you forget how much you miss just talking to sports fans. It's awesome. I'll be heading out here in just a little bit. Matter of fact, shortly after we get off the air, I'll be leaving here because we're heading to take my son to UVA Wise, the last bird flying away from the nest. So it's going to be an emotional weekend here, but that's the goal, right? You get them through, and that's the next stage of their life. So we'll be heading that way here. In about 20 minutes or so, we'll be hitting the road down to Wise. If you haven't driven down to Norton, it's going south on the interstate is okay. I'll let you know if I run into any bad driving guys. We'll get you updated on that coming up. But thanks to everybody for tuning in this week. And again, help us out. It's your show. It really is. And if the show is going to continue to grow and survive, then it's up to you. As the audience, you can be a bigger part of this than you've ever been, ever. Text message here. Phil Steele's preseason magazine is like Sears Roebuck Christmas book. Yeah, it is. Remember how excited we got over that? Oh, sweet. Texture said he played on the first team at Wise in '91. Congratulations. I'll tell you what, the facilities are great. Facilities are awesome. Very nice campus. About 2,100 students, I think they said. So it'll be a good segue for my youngest to go to, away to school at a place that's not necessarily overwhelming. And then he's going to go to UVA. So very excited about the next stage of his life. Probably won't have squatching time today, Wayne. Probably won't have time. But just know this, if we're parked at the rest area and you hear this. One, you'll look to jump in your vehicle and get out of there, but at the second time, you're going to go, wait a minute. That was Bigfoot. So you don't know what you might run into when you're headed down to the southern tip of Virginia. But in any event, thanks again to our guests, Will Stewart, Mike Ashley, and Phil Steele. When we do pop up, there are going to be times I'm just going to want to go live and I'm just going to pop up and do a show, and I'll put it on our social media so you'll know. Okay? But that's what I'm saying. We can do that and think about some of the things I've thrown out there at you. I know the T-shirt answer. I think I'm going to get help with my backdrop. Peeps have been awesome. Thanks to all of our sponsors. And then the ones I'm really excited on Monday to announce our new sponsors that have joined the program as well. Have a wonderful weekend. Tell your friends, call your neighbors, wake the kids, get the dog and pets, the cats involved. Get them to subscribe, like, and share. Big Dog Sports Talk with Rick Watson. Be good, everybody. We will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Our last weekend without football. Let that sink in. Be good. Take care.